Talladega might just be the wildest race of the year.
She's going to be a wild one. We're going to see some sparks fly.
Maybe it's because it's just so darn fast.
Some say this track is haunted.
Maybe it's that curse the old-timers talk about.
Like a fever.
Or maybe it's when the big one hits.
Oh, look at this.
The only thing you can expect at Talladega is the unexpected. The Geico 500 from Talladega, today at 2 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talladega Super Speedway. We have a very special show for you guys today. You are watching the Fox Hot Pass Hangout presented by Coca-Cola Orange Vanilla. So great to have you guys with us on this Sunday afternoon. I'm Caitlin Vinci alongside two guys. Won races here at Talladega. Xfinity in 2013 for Regan Smith, 2003 in the Cup car for Michael Waltrip. Guys, so good to have you here.
I appreciate it. That day in 2003 was one of the best memories ever because, Regan, I don't know about you, but growing up in Kentucky, I could not wait to come check out Talladega Super Speedway. When I was a kid, it's all you talked about, and it was scary. People got hurt, people got killed here, and my brother was racing here, and I'm like, wow, I don't know about all this. I got to go check it out, but I was scared. It was really scary. And then the first time I got on these banks was 1986, and I fell in love immediately. And for some reason, I knew how to draft. I had a knack for it. And that ability.
Could you see the air?
I felt it, I think.
You felt it?
Yeah, I didn't see it. But that ability, obviously was something that I think I gained from just watching so many laps here. This is the 100th race at Talladega. And I've been in 60 of them, Regan, and you know what that means?
You're old?
Yes. That's
exactly no, we already have an old joke. We just started.
You're old, but you know what, Mikey? You still have better hair than me. Mine's falling out, yours isn't, so you got that going for it.
Fine wine gets better with age.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Well, I'm just happy you didn't bring up 2008 in the Cup race when I thought I had what would have been my second Talladega win, at the time, first Talladega win. So thank you for not doing that. Hopefully we keep all the cars above the yellow line today, and much like Mikey, this place has always had this mystique about it that is completely different than a lot of the other racetracks that we go to. And I don't know why, but this weekend in particular, I don't remember coming down here with this feeling of just my stomach kind of turning a little bit and not knowing what's going to happen or what's going to be around the next turn. As we have, I don't know if you can hear it through our mics, but we have jets that are absolutely performing in a phenomenal air show around us right now. So come to a race, you get an air show, you get a race going on the track, all kinds of cool stuff. But there's going to be a lot that goes in today with these drivers having to learn on the racetrack and understand a new set of rules, a set of rules that they've never raced with before. And I think you add all that stuff together, and it's really going to create what's going to be quite a spectacle when this day is all said and done.
Yeah, and I was talking to a couple of the drivers just now when I was finishing up the grid walk on Fox, and they certainly don't know what to expect. And the reason why, they haven't been in this huge pack where they're going to be 3 wide middle. They haven't had 4 wide. It's just been they've had it, but it's calmer when you got about half the cars in a pack. So they know it's going to be different today. They really don't know what to expect. Certainly the main word down there that I hear is uncertainty. And what's great for race car drivers isn't necessarily great for fans and vice versa. Mm-hmm. If you have uncertainty, drivers don't like it. Us fans are like, oh, really?
Right, makes for the best racing that we can see.
And we saw an awesome Xfinity race yesterday. I mean, it was one of the best ones I can remember at Talladega ever. And Tyler Reddick getting to victory lane was incredible, the job he did behind the wheel.
That race car was used up. We talk so much about aero and wind tunnels and everything like that when we come to these big super speedways. His race car was destroyed on the right side. They put panels on it. I had his pits yesterday. They were taping panels and riveting panels to that race car. Here it is, a car that probably spent 10 hours in a wind tunnel, all this money invested, and he wins with panels riveted to the side of the race car. It was an amazing race. Yeah. A lot of people predicted something completely different for that race, and this just further goes to prove that a lot of times what we think we know, we don't know,
right.
much like today.
That car was a perfect chip, and he hit the wall and cracked a part of it off.
There you go.
Well, Michael mentioned it about the fact that it's the 100th Cup race that is run here at Talladega. So throughout the show, we want you guys to try and send us 100 fan questions, and we have a special person joining our broadcast for the day to help with the social media side of things, and I will send it now to CJ Wolliver.
Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I'm CJ Wolliver, one of the social media producers for NASCAR on Fox, and I want you guys to send me questions. I'm watching. I'm paying attention, I promise. So get those in, and I'll relay it to these guys. The first question I want to ask you guys, I want to ask our talent, make a pick out of these 3, Chevy, Ford, Toyota. What do you guys think? Who gets the win today?
Ooh.
All
Well,
right,
you-
manufacturer.
Are we answering?
I think we're
think
going to
you
have to
answer.
answer.
Yeah.
You have to say Ford. I mean, the numbers
Yes.
simply make it almost unarguable that you would say Ford. But I don't know. I think we're going to see an upset today.
You said Ford, but you didn't pick a Ford driver. Your pick for the race one is beside you. Regan, here's yours.
Well,
I said it's because it's Talladega. It's unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen. Why are you yelling at me?
I'm not. I would never yell at you. Come on. But here's
she's running
my
a tight
pick.
ship here already,
I
Mikey. I know me and you can go down, we see a squirrel and we're like, squirrel, okay, but we're going to have to stay on track today here.
Okay, well, here's my pick.
So
I have
you're
selected
clearly
Brad
saying Ford as
Keselowski.
well.
Yeah, I know I'm really not going out on a limb because he has 5 wins here, but this is my guy for today.
No, you can take a favorite. I think Ford is the favorite, and
Okay.
that guy is certainly one that will be a factor today. But I think this guy, my buddy Kyle Larson,
There you go.
finally puts the bad luck of 2019 behind him and goes to victory lane in his number 42 Chevy.
Well, I like the theme of Ford. I like Ford because of the Yates engines and the Yates power, but I'm going to pick this Ford driver. Young Ryan Blaney, YRB,
So we picked two Penske's.
gets his first Super Speedway win today. Not just a pretty face, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to be your winner this afternoon as well.
But he is a
pretty face.
Yeah,
too.
you picked that
He
because
he
you wanted
makes
to look,
me look so much better when I'm dancing
you
around
wanted
on
to look
camera.
Hollywood, didn't you? But I'm going to tell you what, get your guy normal size. I'm going to be down here just gnawing at you.
Yeah.
I'm going to be your worst enemy all day long, Kyle Larson.
I don't know that you've had the speed this year to be my worst enemy, Mikey. I think that when it's said and done, Blaney's going to wink and pass the whole field.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. We want to know who you
Intimidating.
guys are going to pick, so make sure you send us your picks. But now, brought to you by Coca-Cola Orange Vanilla, let's go to our friends in Charlotte to see who has the right combination.
I would have to say Joey Logano and his number 22 Team Penske, and especially considering, let's start with the fact that he drives a Ford. Ford has won the last 7 races at Talladega. Joey winning 3 of those 7. So I would say Joey, Team Penske, and Ford, the Coke right combination for today.
All right, so you heard it from Larry Mack. He thinks Penske and Ford are going to be the ones to beat.
A lot of Ford predictions around here.
predictions, yeah.
Let me say this. The one thing that me personally I really like about the Fords is the fact that not only do they have the 8 horsepower, as I mentioned a moment ago, they've also got bumpers that line up very nicely with each other. Because of those bumpers, if we get to a scenario where we've got to push later on in the race, that's going to be a big deal.
And I want to go back to what I said at the beginning. Uncertainty, unpredictability, that's what Talladega's famous for. So while we all think a Ford will win and probably a Penske car would be favored, you never know at Talladega. And we're going to see an interesting race. Some really strong cars, all the Gibbs cars, going to the back early.
Yep.
Now, how will that strategy play out, Regan? I almost think, talking about the fact that we don't know how these cars are going to handle, and they have 120 more horsepower, and they're not handling great, I wouldn't be surprised to see those Gibbs cars line up and run back there for a while just to get their feel for the race and see how this thing paces itself out.
I spoke to one of the Gibbs crew chiefs who told me this might actually play to our favor. It might keep us out of that wreck at the beginning of the race. That might be a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been talking a lot about Ford, and I know CJ's got more on another Ford driver.
Cup Series win
Now
today.
we can
A
hear him.
driver-
We couldn't hear him. Now,
There
you
we
probably
go.
ought to start all over. 'Cause
Absolutely.
If we couldn't
So-
hear you, they probably could have.
Thank you so much, Mikey. Mikey looking out for me.
Yeah.
A driver that I'm going to be keeping an eye on today, and a driver that we know is looking for his first Cup Series win, a guy that has a pretty good time living life in the fast lane, Daniel Suarez. But his mom may not be quite as big a fan of going fast.
My name is Daniel Suarez. I drive for Stuart Haas Racing, the Ford Mustang 41, Haas Automation, ARIC.
Daniel, no, Daniel. No, Daniel, ya. No, Daniel. No, Daniel. No, friegue, Daniel. Daniel, por favor, Daniel. No, Daniel, no. Daniel, por favor. Daniel, ya.
My mom is getting scared here.
You guys may think after watching those videos that I'm super fast and she's getting crazy, but the reality is that I'm running 55 miles per hour. And the way that I'm going to 55 miles per hour, she's just getting crazy. It took me half a day to get the lovely mom back, but it was very funny.
Has she ever been in a car with you on the track?
No. My mom My mom never been in a race car with me. Actually, she has said to me that you can pay her enough to put her in a race car. The only time that she said, Daniel, I may need to try it is when I told her that I lose like 5 pounds in the weekend driving race cars. And she said, Daniel, I may have to try it. And then she said, no, I think I can find a different way. You know, I'm very honored because I'm a Tony Stewart fan. When I moved to the US the first time back in 2011, I was more a race fan than what I was actually driving race cars. So I spent a lot of time watching TV, the races, and trying to learn something, listening to the radio. And that was the last year that he won the title.
He's an owner driver, and he's going to become a 3-time NASCAR Sprint Cup champion. Tony Stewart wins it.
So for me to watch him win that title and the way that he did it, having some issues with debris and stuff on the grill, and they had to change it, and then he went again. I remember exactly. He hit some debris. The grill of the car was bent and it wasn't working very well. He had to pit. They changed that. They fixed the whole car. He went again from the back to the front. He was passing cars like it was a video game, and then he went all the way back to the front. But the comments that he said when all that was going on, that was what impressed me the most.
P12. Oh yes, this is not over. They're going to feel like after we kick their ass after this.
To win a race, that's something cool. But to win a race the way that he did it, that's something very special for me, and I bet for him as well. You know, it takes a lot of leadership to say something like that in the last race of the season, fighting for the championship. So after that, I become a huge Tony Stewart fan, and now to have him as a boss and as well as a friend that I know I can go ask a question and anytime, any day, that's definitely very special. It's Tony. Honestly, I never had the opportunity to race against Tony, but like I said, I watched him race a lot. So for me, it's been Tony Stewart forever, and now I have obviously a little more confidence with him. Is Tony. Hey Tony this, hey Tony that. So I cannot call him bad names yet. Yeah, my new crew chief, Billy Scott, very smart guy with a lot of experience. Obviously, I haven't had the opportunity to work with him in the racetrack, but so far outside of the racetrack, it's been a lot of fun. He's a very straightforward guy, and I feel like we're gonna have a lot of potential to do great things together. You know, it's very hard to tell if I like his style because I'm getting to know him more and more. But so far, there is no one thing I can tell you that I don't like. He's a very straightforward guy. Everyone in the group have a lot of confidence with him. They talk very open. They have respect, but they have fun, and I really like that a lot. They make fun of each other, and I'm that kind of guy. I like to enjoy the time, and everyone in the 41 group is just like that. So far, I really love the group a lot, and I'm really looking forward to find out more about the group and keep improving.
Oh, well, that was an interesting little segment. His mom really was frightened in that car.
I feel like I've had that same look out of my mom at times, so I can understand and appreciate where she's coming from with that. Daniel's one of the young guys of our sport. He's exciting. He's fun to watch. He's doing a nice job in that race car this year. I think he's been really getting his feet under him and picking up the pace and getting to where he needs to be on the racetrack. And I see a lot of his crew guys that he talks about having fun with, some of which I've worked with in the past. And one of them, I know his nickname is Porky. He's probably not going to be happy that I say that, but one of the most fun people I've ever brought around. Great attitude, much like Daniel's attitude there, and somebody that we'll be talking about for a long time to come.
Yeah, and his crew chief, Billy Scott, used to work for us over at Michael Waltrip Racing, and
That's
very
right.
talented,
I forgot that.
smart racer. And I've had the luxury, an opportunity a couple of times this season to talk to Billy about Daniel, because I'm a huge Daniel Suarez fan. He's one of my favorite personalities. You just see him and he makes you happy.
Yeah.
He lights up a room, and
true.
so I really appreciate that and enjoy my time I get to spend with Daniel. But I asked Billy, I said, what's he like on the job, in the meetings his energy for getting better. He said he's the best he's ever met. He's going to work out harder in the gym than you. He's going to pay more attention in the meetings than you. He's going to do everything he can to win races behind the wheel of that 41 car. And I'm going to be the first one to victory lane that isn't a team member when he wins, because I just want to give him a big hug. What a great
big bear hug from you. That might knock him right over. I know he works out and he's strong, but that could be challenging. While we're at a speedway, I got a quick Daniel Suarez story. The one time in my career I have been on my roof, it came off of the front bumper of Daniel Suarez. It was his first super speedway race. I know we're talking Talladega today. We got these cars getting ready to take the green flag in just a minute. Danger, excitement. That's the one thing none of these guys want to have happen today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now let's check in quickly with CJ for more on a poll. CJ?
All right, so thank you guys so much for commenting along, sharing, voting. I see all the numbers coming across. You guys are the best. NASCAR fans are the best fans in the world. So if you want to know how you can vote all day long, when we ask a question, if there are multiple choices, just hit the comment anywhere, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you're watching. Comment with your pick, and we can get that information for you on screen. So the first question that we asked you guys, among the picks of our talent, we had Larson, Blaney, Keselowski. Who do you think goes to victory lane? It looks like they agree with our fearless leader here today, Caitlin Vincey.
Oh, wow.
60% of the fans picking Ryan Blaney out of the 3 to go to victory lane today. So, KV, I think you got a pretty good pick.
I didn't pick Ryan Blaney.
You didn't pick Ryan Blaney.
No.
Okay. Sorry about that. That's what I had
Go
written
ahead
down.
and say our other fearless leader with this nice little face next to him here.
What's my percentage looking like, bro?
Right now, so we have 60 on Ryan Blaney, Larson and Keselowski both at 20%.
NASCAR fans are quite possibly the smartest group of people in the world. And that's not just because they agree with me right now. I truly believe that. That is a wonderful number, 60%.
Wow. You just picked him because he's cute.
I did. He's a good-looking man. I'm not too afraid to say that. Look at it. I mean, it's
you've got to be.
This is the face of our sport right here. The future of our sport is in my arms, sitting right next to me.
You got to be comfortable in your skin in order to make a pick based on that, and I respect that, Regan.
I'm perfectly fine with it. And his hair. I do have hair envy, major hair envy.
Major hair envy.
What about these boys rolling toward the green
I
flag? I want to tell you what I have after all these years and not being in a car for a couple. I got major envy of these guys behind the wheel. I don't care how unpredictable it is. I don't care how uncertain we are. I know that it's going to be crazy. I want to be right out in the middle of it.
I am going to disagree. This might be the one day that I'm perfectly fine sitting here in the garage area right now watching this race, watching what's about to take place, because it's going to be very exciting.
It is. Again, you're watching the Fox Hot Pass Hangout presented by Coca-Cola Orange Vanilla, and we are racing here at Talladega, guys. Austin Dillon leading the charge, our pole sitter.
Yeah, nothing unexpected right now in terms of how they fire off right here. I think when we get to the back straightaway of this race, that's when business is going to pick up. They'll have the runs that they need. They'll be up to speed quicker than they ever have been because of the horsepower difference. And
I talked to crew chief Mike Wheeler down on the grid, Regan, and he said the cars have so much more front downforce this trip to Talladega. And when they put that wicker on the spoiler, it made it have even more front downforce, which tilts the car toward the front tires, which means they're going to be very responsive. The front tires are going to be responsive.
Right now. I'm nervous for this lap right now. Oh, my goodness.
But the back end sometimes doesn't want to hang with an aggressive front end.
And we heard a lot of that yesterday in practice as guys were talking about it. Hear that roar behind it. I love that. I love it at Speedway when the whole pack comes flying by you. Just sounds like a 1,000 bumblebees flying by you all at one time. But when we talked about practice yesterday and we saw cars get in the pack, a number of guys complained about how loose their race cars were because of that downforce that Michael talks about. And they've got a pan on the front of the cars, which is different. That helps suck the front of the car to the racetrack a little bit closer. So a lot of things. These guys are learning. They've never been in a scenario where they've had to learn as much as they are right now. Every set of rules that we've run up until this point over at least the past 20 years since I've been involved has been similar enough to another set to where it wasn't a drastic difference of how you drive the cars and how you learn it and how you draft with them. This set of rules is a drastic difference.
What I loved about my chance to race a few races as my career wound down, as you see Martin Truex in that orange car out of the
Didn't he go to the
back? Yeah,
he's already cracked the top 10, I think. I can't wait to see the speeds these cars are going to run. This lap here, over 200 miles an hour. I mean, the way they run down into the corners, I think it's going to be really impressive to see what kind of times they can crank out through the day.
Look at Corey LaJoie back in the field a little bit, 202 miles per hour.
There you have it. Look at Bubba Wallace all the way up inside the top 10. We know what he did at Daytona that day. He wants to run up front so bad he can't stand it, and this is a great opportunity for him to do just that.
I'm curious what the fans think and what the people that are listening to us right now. Would you rather be in the front of the pack, in the middle, or in the back of the pack? As a driver right now sitting here, I don't know what I would want to do. I think as I see 3 wide and all the unknowns that are going on, I would probably fall back off of the field just a little bit if I can't be one of the first 3 cars. I don't know what else to do right there.
And if you're at home and you're watching this race, watch Martin Truex Jr. He's taken to the top and has driven almost to the front. The spotters on the roof, the driver spotters that are ahead of him are saying, hey, man, Martin's making some good time up top. Get up top. So that's how this thing works. When you've got a guy doing something special back in the pack, the spotters notice it, and they relay it to their driver, and the driver is then ready to adjust his line and go to places where other drivers are having success. And you can see that's Blaney up top, Logano up top. They're sort of taking that line away. There's Denny Hamlin racing up inside the top 10. Talk to him down on the grid walk. But look at Truex from the back to the front.
Look at the help he's got also, though. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. right behind him also went to the back of the field to start this race. Don't look past the fact that he's got a Ford helping push him. And the Toyotas yesterday, they had what I would call is not a miserable day, but not a day that they're accustomed to. They all qualified 20th or worse. It was a major struggle for them. They all said the same thing. We're going to race very good tomorrow. We're happy about where our race cars are. Looks like their prediction was true so far.
And their prediction is based on technology and science. They know what they have in single car, and they know what they have in the draft, and they were confident about that. Talked to David Wilson, the president of TRD, and he said, don't worry, Mike, everything's going to be good tomorrow. And I'm not worried. I'm just an investigative reporter at times. I want to hear what people think and what they say. And what I was most excited about down on pit road was when I talked to Mike Wheeler, his passion and his energy for the guy behind the wheel of that 95 car, Matt Benedetto.
Can he say his name really good now?
Not really.
Or does he say Matt D in my car?
Yeah. Matt D, that's just easier, right? Okay, let's check in with CJ real quick for some social media interaction.
All right, guys. So the first thing about the interaction, they're loving that Larson's just hanging out with us here
in his lap. Yeah, I love
today.
That.
I think that's great. But also, we had a question come in that this one's for Michael and Regan. And we had a fan that wants to know, how many races at Talladega did it take for you guys to get the confidence in the draft to make big moves, to make maneuvers, things that we see on TV that kind of takes our breath away? How many times did you have to run at Talladega before you felt confident enough to do that?
I just had my breath taken away. I don't know what happened to young Ryan Blaney in the middle of the pack there. It looks like maybe a little bit of a bump draft from the 34 car, Michael Maddow. He was sideways on the straightaway, 3 wide with cars on both sides. I jumped up in my seat just a little bit right there. For me, drafting was something that took some time. I'm going to say it took every bit of 7-8 races before I even remotely got not only comfortable with it, but a true grasp and a true understanding as to what I was doing out there, how the air was flowing around the race cars, why certain moves worked, why they didn't work. We watch 1,000 races leading up to the first time we're on the track ourselves, and you just don't know until you get out there what the true feeling is going to be. You don't know that sensation of being 3 wide in the middle with cars literally an inch from the front of you, an inch from the back of you, and right down on your door as close to the side of you as they can be.
And Michael,
my story is a lot different. I started back in the 80s, and the only way you could really keep up at a track like Daytona and Talladega was the draft, and I wasn't used to keeping up. You got to understand, I didn't have a really good car when I started. We weren't fast. But when I'd come to Daytona and Talladega, I could run right on Richard Petty's bumper. I could race with Dale Earnhardt.
How cool is that?
Cool.
You are racing with the king.
Yeah, that's my point. And this air is affording me that opportunity.
Right.
So I'm all ears, eyes, everything I can do to be in that draft and to run with my heroes. I did it, and so I think I picked it up almost immediately because of the circumstances back in the day.
That's interesting. Yeah, because you have 3 wins also at Daytona, another super speedway. And that kind of reminds me of a guy like Brad Keselowski, who's currently leading this race. He has figured out these type of racetracks, it seems.
Brad is very good here. I mean, five wins at Talladega is so difficult to win one of these races. Anybody that can win more than one of them, in particular, you know, Talladega is not as much of a handling racetrack as Daytona. Daytona, you have to be good at the draft, but you also have to be able to communicate with your crew chief how you want your race car to drive at different times of the day. If the sun's out, if the sun's not out, we see a little bit of debris right there on Brad's car. He's going to have to be a little bit cautious about that. But Brad has a communication with, at the time, his spotter, Joey Meyer. We got to remember, that's changed this year.
Yes.
Brad has a new spotter this year in Coleman Presley. He's still adapting and learning from him a little bit. Right now, it's working out good for him, though.
Well, let's gloat a bit, boys and girls. We said the Penske cars would be the story.
Look at
1, 2, 3 right now. They've driven straight to the front.
Just love it when we're right.
Look at that pack of Fords in the front.
We actually phoned it in before the race and told them, can you make sure you're up there and stay up there as long as possible?
My favorite thing I'm seeing early in this race is Bubba Wallace. I just love Bubba's, to me, like Daniel. They just want to go. They're happy when they get this opportunity, and they've got a great opportunity here today to run up front. And you see, if you're watching at home on TV, there's Bubba right up in the top 5.
Denny is as close to Bubba as he can possibly be right now. I know we're looking at the two-car Brad Keselowski pushing his teammate Joey Logano, but Denny was given a little bit of a ride around the front straightaway all the way through the corners to Bubba there. Denny, one of our best I can't say that anymore.
I know, we can't say that.
Look at that. I messed that up once
already.
already.
In the jar.
I'm going to be broke by the end of this show. This is going to be a costful show for me.
We decided we're gonna call it Super Speedway Racing.
I like Super Speedway. I think that's the easiest way to go about this. But Denny is one of the best Super Speedway racers, no matter what the form is. He's going to go out there and learn. And I did ask Chris Gabehart right before this race. I said, what is your plan? Are you going to go out there and race on? And we got a wreck already.
It's Bubba.
Oh, and it's Bubba.
We have jinxed him.
Wow.
Oh, it's Harvick and Boyer.
Oof.
I don't
Are
know
we
how.
surprised
I
this
don't
is
know how
happening
hard
this early?
they were being aggressive when they're 3 wide that early on. Anything's possible. We'll have to.
I almost think,
see
Caitlin,
what
that
happens.
Bubba was pushing Blaney. I saw that. Then it went away. I don't see Bubba. He's the 3rd car in line. He runs to the bottom.
He makes the move.
And he hooks Blaney, and it sends him out of control.
That
look at Denny Hamlin. He gets caught in it, but is able to escape.
Michael McDowell, big damage as well.
Yeah, that was just Bubba was being very aggressive. Remember that Camaro's got the pointy nose. He tries to sweep to the left, just barely caught Blaney and causes a big crash.
I got to tell you, I'm surprised that wreck wasn't bigger than what it was.
Right.
When you have the 3rd and 4th place cars get together at the start of a race, that is amazing that we didn't take out 20 cars right there.
And we're lucky because we're seeing some awesome racing, and we wouldn't want to lose half the field right now.
Oh, Denny's, that's
that's
worse than you
repairable.
might like.
But I'm telling you, that's repairable.
With this set of rules, yes. With the way that the
what
cars
about
are
the
punching
rules
the
yesterday?
hole. Tyler Reddick was torn to shreds.
Right.
How many times did we think he didn't have a
Regan.
shot, huh?
I didn't know where you were headed. I'm glad you went with shreds.
I've said that before, and you didn't know where I was going with that.
He was
I keep you
torn
on your
to
toes,
shreds.
Mikey.
Not
What
what
a
these
rough,
teams were hoping to have this early on.
Now, Clint Boyer, maybe a little bit more trouble for him to repair that
I
car.
think it's going to be interesting. You know, we've got the damaged vehicle policy.
5 minutes. We got to remember that.
I think it's 6 here at Talladega. They bumped it up.
Did they? Okay.
Maybe. I might be wrong. But this is just that nose on the Camaro. It's hard to deal with. And look, Bubba's aggressive. He's going to pass his buddy Blaney. He doesn't get to do that very often.
It was just strictly a missed time. You can see him catch that indention in the Ford bumper and hook it a little bit
and
right
you know
there.
what? He might have the opinion that was Blaney's fault. You know, I went to the bottom and he moved over. Drivers see things differently. It'd be interesting to hear his comments.
I would be interested to hear that because I don't know how you can pin that one on Blaney.
Well,
Not only because I have his fat head sitting right beside me staring
right.
at me currently, but
you know who
but
wasn't
also
in
because I'm not sure how.
Kyle Larson.
I don't
Nor
think
Brad
Blaney moved over to
Keselowski,
block
my
him. I think he got too close when he went to make the move. And this is what we're talking about with drivers having to learn the moves on the racetrack, understand these rules and how to get through these rules. Big hit for Harvick as well. Wow.
If you're watching at home on your big screen in your living room, watch Matt Tift. Watch the job the 36 car does. He drives perfectly through this crash, and I don't think got any damage.
Woo!
Well, we've heard what
Daniel
we think.
Suarez puckered up a little bit right there, too.
CJ, what are the fans saying? I know we got a fan question from you.
Yeah, so a lot of the fans interacting with how much they're enjoying being able to get kind of a different perspective of today's race here at Talladega. So we're going to make sure that we keep you guys updated. You can stay here with us. But one of the questions, and it actually ties into something that I wanted to make sure I told everybody, Justin has commented asking, can I have a free Coke hat, please? Well, my answer to that question is maybe. Wherever you're watching, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on Twitter, YouTube, the Fox Sports app, take the link, hit the share button. If you share it and you comment, we'll go through after the broadcast is over, after the checkered, and I'm going to pick somebody. We're going to do it random, and then I'll go through and I will send someone a Coca-Cola hat and bonus. It's signed by our boy Daniel Suarez in that orange vanilla Coca-Cola car today. So get a chance to go to Charlotte maybe for the 600 and Coke swag. It'll be a lot of fun. So we did have a question come through, though, as we're still working under caution. Joel sent in a question wanting to know when and where will we see Mikey back in a car?
People want to see Michael Waltrip back
Interstate
racing.
77, maybe? Is that the best spot?
Well, I am actually going to race, and there you can see the car of Michael McDowell that was running in the top 5, man. That's just such a sad story. Clint Boyer spun around, but he looks like they've made some repairs. Bubba, I think, will be out of this race. You can see the wrecker there. I am actually going to race a couple of races this year in the Midwest. It's called the Vors Compact Touring Series.
Awesome.
Is this breaking news?
This
Has
is
this been announced yet?
breaking
Look
news.
at this. No, it hasn't. And I'm just feeling real comfortable right now in my skin, and I'm looking forward to that opportunity. But it's a 4-cylinder car, and the reason why this is cool, Regan, I started in a Mercury Capri back in Kentucky in 1981, a little 4-cylinder car. And the Vors Compact Touring Series is 4-cylinder cars. So I got me a Toyota Celica, and I painted it up just like my first car back in 1981,
awesome.
and we're going to go run 2 or 3 races.
Very good.
How loud are those cars? Relatively quiet? Those
Yeah, they're real
4-cylinders?
quiet.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like to the point where you can like almost hear the crowd cheering for you when you take the lead in that car.
Yeah, and you can also talk to your kids, explain to them what's happening out there.
pretty cool.
They've got a nice grunt to them, a little but
How's that go again? Oh, I like that.
But
I
nothing
like
that will
It sounds like Kenny Wallace's Jake break that he does. Kenny Wallace does the best Jake
Oh,
break
he
in the
does.
business.
You're totally
It's
right.
fantastic.
All right.
So,
I'm sorry.
no, it's okay.
Are you on me?
I think Neil's
Hey,
pointing us in a different direction.
Oh, I
here.
want to go to the garage.
He's going to show us some of
That
that
sounds
carnage.
great.
from
So
some of
thank
his
you to
cars.
Joel.
Business is about to pick up here.
Business is
Can I
definitely
take Kyle?
picking up as
Can I take
as
Kyle
teams
with
are
me? Do
gonna
y'all
be-
mind?
I think that should be a rule. We have to take our fat heads with us everywhere we go today.
I'm down for
What
that.
do we think?
What about
I'm
have
not
to?
doing-
Well,
it wasn't
yes.
an option. This wasn't
No.
a if you want to. It's a rule.
Until you're out of the race.
like it.
If you're
I
out of
like
the
it.
race,
I
then
like
you can
that.
put him down.
When your guy's out of the race, you can put him. Okay, fair enough. Well,
One thing,
I look
too, that
way
I
better
wanted
when
to
I
make
sit here with
sure
young Ryan Blaney.
as Mikey gets ready to head out, one thing, too, I wanted to make sure that I pointed out, we had a lot of fans checking and asking if he could get a shout-out because he's actually watching from Russia here this afternoon.
Russia.
So
Very
I just
nice.
wanted to say hi to him
We
because
are
that's
all
awesome.
over the world with this Hot Pass Hangout today. I'm going to tell you what.
International, my friend.
I love this. This is our second
That
show,
is
and we are fully
fantastic.
international already.
And Don wants to know if we think a young gun will win today because he thinks they will. They are the future
Well,
of the sport.
I know Regan does.
I'm holding him in my arms currently. I know
so
the
does-
camera's
so
not
does
showing
Michael.
this, but
Kyle Larson's
What's
a
the
young
cutoff
gun,
for a
too.
young gun, though?
I know. He's getting older now.
I think
kinda what I
anything.
thought.
I think anything 36 and below should be the cutoff for the young gun. Not because I'm 35, but I'm just saying 36 and below. That's still a young gun.
I can get on board with that, I think. So thank you guys so much for continuing to interact. Don't forget, hit the share button. We're going to send you some fun stuff after we get done with the broadcast here today. Mikey heading out to get ready to maybe talk with some fans.
Yeah, let's go to
It's gonna be
Michael.
fun.
He is going to be hanging out.
All right, guys, I want to go to the garage area. We saw that big accident on the racetrack, and these teams, if they come to the garage area, they're out of the race via the damaged vehicle policy. But what happens when they have a crash is a whole nother wave of work goes into motion, and that is trying to figure out how to get the car loaded on the truck. And particularly for this Loves team, for Michael McDowell, that car was running so well. He didn't do anything wrong, and he was running right up in the top 5, and that accident has taken this team out of competition. And to have, you have to understand, to have an opportunity like they had today to run in the top 5, to know that they would be one of the cars that could win this race, it's just got to be so challenging for them to accept that. That wreck was huge. It wrecked their fast race car, but more importantly, it took away a chance for them to win this race. And guys, that's had to be just so hard for you to watch. I mean, you put a car on the track that's up in the top 5, you know you can win the race, and Michael just didn't do anything wrong and got wiped out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, it's lap 10 or 11 or 12 of a 500-mile race, and it's a long way to go to figure out if you could push somebody. And unfortunately, we were stuck on the outside.
Yeah, and did you know coming into today, Bud, that you could win this race, that y'all could contend?
You know, for a team like us, to qualify in the top 12 and to have a chance of anywhere, this is one of our biggest chances. So, yeah, it hurts pretty hard.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your time. Appreciate you, Drew. You all right?
Yeah, it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, I know the work that goes into this. A lot of people okay, it's just a wreck, but this could change your whole year. I mean, you're in a position to change everything.
It could have. We've had a few tough weekends last month, and this was a chance to turn it around and get our ball rolling coming off the break and try to get moving forward. But try again next week.
Yeah, that's right. He was doing a great job, and y'all prepared a really fast car. See what else we got going on in the garage area. This is the teams have their toolboxes here, but you really can't work on your car back here anymore. All it is about getting something that you can get loaded up on the trailer. You can see over here this beautiful plaid car for Kevin Harvick. They are out of the race. This machine obviously was a race winning car. They had the Busch promotion with the Busch guy here wearing his plaid outfit, and now this finely tuned, pristine, probably a $250,000 effort on just building that car and bringing it here is torn to pieces and cannot continue. Harvick got out of the car, went into his trailer. Chase Elliott, we see on the big screen there, they're making some adjustments on pit road. It's going to be interesting to me to see who's going to be able to survive this crash. Who can survive the crash? Who is in it that can overcome what happened and go out and contend for a victory? So this effort is simply about getting this race car on the trailer. See what kind of damage is over on the left side here. You can see that was what ended it. The left, well, I mean, everything's sort of torn up, but a lot of damage to that left front corner of the race car. Good. Harvick made his way to the trailer. Maybe try to get a word with one of the team guys and see if Harvick had any comments. Nook, did Kevin have any words? Did he say anything?
Never heard nothing, as usual. As soon as something like that happens and we're going into the garage, we'll just shut the radios off and load it on the hauler.
That's what it's all about now, just figuring out how to get it aboard the hauler to get back to North Carolina, huh?
That's pretty much it, buddy.
Good job. You had a fast car.
Thanks, bud.
So I'm going to head back over toward the set, guys. Caitlin, Regan, disappointment, obviously, here down in the garage area. You know, you look at Kevin Harvick. We know he can win the race, and now he's getting ready to get in the golf cart to head to the infield care center. And looks like he's able to manage a bit of a smile. Glad you're okay, bud. So they're having some words there with the team and loading up and heading them to the infield care center. So Caitlin, Regan, you guys, you can take it away. This scene is what has been talked about all day long that we're going to see a lot of, with a lot of action, a lot of crashes, and a lot of carnage. So guys, take it over.
These teams we're hoping to see already.
One of the toughest rides a driver can make is the ride to the care center. But that ride is even worse when you're in the scenario like Kevin Harvick was right there. I know Michael really wanted to talk to Kevin. NASCAR has rules implemented that don't allow that to happen. Basically, when you drive a car to the garage that's out of the race, they require you to get on that medical cart immediately without speaking to any media and to take that ride. Even if you drove the car back and you say, I didn't take a big hit. We did see him take a relatively good-sized hit, but even if you didn't hit anything barely, they still require you to hop on that medical cart, take a ride to the care center, get out at the care center, get checked up, and do everything that you have to do there for them to feel comfortable releasing you back to the garage area. So a disappointing day for Kevin Harvick, and a lot of cars that we excited. These guys, they just went green flag again.
Yes.
Nobody learned anything because they are already beating and banging the bumpers of each other,
again,
just as aggressive as before. I am shocked to see this early in the race as to why these guys are being this aggressive. And I know you have to learn what's going on with the cars, but I'm absolutely shocked. Let me get back to my last thought for just a minute. A number of cars taken out of that race that early on looked like we're going to be potential winners. A guy like Michael McDowell having a strong run.
Right.
Kevin Harvick, very good on the speedways. Well, when that happens, you know what we're going to see now is a whole nother group of cars come up to the front of the pack.
Yes.
And this is going to evolve as the day goes on. We're going to see different people up there. Eric Almirola won the last race we were at Talladega.
That's right.
I remember because I was in it and I had to follow him.
Well, that was an incredible race for Stewart-Haas Racing as a whole. I don't know if we've ever seen that kind of dominance out of a 4-car team before. What we saw in the fall here at Talladega with those cars.
And we're not likely to see that again anytime soon because the other teams picked up on what they were doing first off. Second off, we do have a completely different set of rules that we're running under now, and different horsepower, different spoilers, so many technical things as we talked about early on in the show. But that's not going to allow those teams, the big 4-car teams, to do what they did. And that was essentially design race cars that were specifically built to run in a certain order. And kudos to Stewart-Haas. That was so impressive what they were able to do, what they were able to take care of there.
And I think now we're going to send it back out to Michael Waltrip, who is somewhere else in the garage. What are you doing, Michael?
Matt, you did an awesome job, buddy, getting through that crash. I thought you were perfect, and then the story's a little bit deeper than that.
It is. Unfortunately, we got a splitter really deep in our radiator there. And how about that? You miss a wreck at Talladega and you still got a damn part through the front.
Yeah, but what a great, you had to just be perfectly patient, wait, and the C's open, you thought, and then your radiator busted.
Yeah, I thought we were okay there. I shifted down to third gear and just got on the brakes as hard as I could and missed it. And sometimes it's just not your day.
Yeah, you did everything perfect.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
And I wanted to show you what he was talking about. We got a splitter in the front nose. And so the splitter that you see on the front of the car down low, but look, he's got an extra splitter. And unfortunately, it pierced the radiator. So that see the low splitter, good, upper splitter, bad. That's how simple that is. Got another car coming in. This is the guy that took the brunt of the collision, the most, the hardest hit of anybody. And it was the guy that I was so impressed with and happy for early in the going. The guys we talked to earlier from the Loves team that they, crew chief and the whole team just talking about what an opportunity lost it was. Hey, Michael. I was so impressed with your early run. You did everything perfect, and now here you are in the garage area.
Yeah, that's just part of racing here at Talladega. Kind of innocent bystander, but yeah, it's unfortunate. We had such a fast Love's Travel Stop Ford Mustang, qualified good, drove well, really optimistic about today. But some days it's not your day, and today wasn't our day, and move forward.
And I was talking to Drew and those guys. I mean, this was a chance. This was like one of those you got circled boldly, and you were perfect. You proved you had everything it was going to take. So I'm sorry for you.
Yeah, yep. But that's what's nice about NASCAR. We race every week. We'll go to Dover and try to do it.
Yeah. Thank you, buddy. So you can tell the team's dejection, and then also there with Michael McDowell, the driver, how challenging that was. And part of the procedure, Matt was able to drive his car back to the garage area. And he's obviously not injured, but NASCAR requires all the drivers to head to the infield care center just to be checked out, make sure that there isn't anything that he's overlooking because of his adrenaline and the energy that he had behind the wheel. So he's going to make that long, slow ride to the infield care center and then get checked out. And he will return most likely the same way that you saw Michael McDowell, just walking back toward his team to download. You can see him over there there's Michael talking to crew chief and about what he was feeling in the car. And this is all notes. They're in the background. This is all notes that they will use the next time they come to Talladega or they run this car. And so that car obviously is probably totaled out, but they'll have another car just like that. And they're going to make sure they understand everything that they need in order to be successful. There's Bubba Wallace. Bubba, you had a strong run early, buddy. I was really pulling for you. I'm sorry for you. Yes, sir. He's obviously really dejected. So hard to process everything that you got to go through. Bob, I was talking to Michael McDowell about the opportunity this was. You know, this was a race that could have changed his whole season and maybe career, and it's taken away from him. Bubba just walked by. He didn't have anything to say. Obviously, it's just a tough situation when you get in a big wreck.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, look at what Michael McDowell did in the Daytona 500, right? So he comes in here thinking he's got a shot, and, you know, Bubba said he was trying to avoid getting in a wreck with the 12, and he ended up hooking himself almost, right? And Kevin Harvick wasn't too pleased and said kind of something a little snippy, and Bubba wasn't a lot of words, but you could tell that there's some frustration there.
Yeah, well, there goes Kevin, and I thought maybe we'd get a word with him, but he obviously...
He doesn't stop very much, but I think he just talked to our TV crew, and, you know, I mean, obviously unfortunate for him, but he felt like, you know, 10 laps in the race, you shouldn't be losing it on your own.
Yeah, it was certainly a tough situation. You know, you could obviously lay the blame there on Bubba, but there again, you know, just a decision. He tried to go to the bottom, and it didn't work, and he crashed himself.
Yeah, look, there have been plenty of plate races in the last 3 or 4 years where plenty of drivers have lost it on their own, right? So this isn't, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You saw the video, but I've seen it before with other people too.
Yeah, appreciate you. If you hear any stories or you collect any information, come share them with us, and we'll share them with the folks at home.
Sure will. Thanks, Michael. Okay.
All right, guys. That's the story from out here. Jimmy Johnson coming to pit road. I don't know what's going on there. I'll tell you what, it's hot. It's hot. I need a Coke, orange, vanilla, 00.
Thank you, Michael. That was great insight from you in the garage area, talking to all those drivers. Obviously, something happening to Jimmy Johnson there, getting into the wall, not what he would like to see. But as I was listening to those drivers talking to Michael, when you come here, you kind of, I guess you have that mentality of, hey, this could go really well, or I could be one of the ones who's an innocent bystander in an accident, right?
Well, and you have to have that mentality. You have to go out there and understand that there are things that will be out of your control in this race. There's things that are going to happen on that racetrack, much like we just saw with Jimmy Johnson. Likely a flat right front tire would be my assumption, probably cut down by a piece of debris, whether that debris came during the accident that happened previously or where that got picked up at. That's part of speedway racing. That is part of all racing as well, but in particular, super speedway racing has to change that mentality. And what I love, what we just saw right there, you know, Bubba Wallace walked right past Michael. Yeah. Michael was trying to ask a question. Bubba is frustrated. That's passion. Mm-hmm. These guys are passionate about what they do. They do not like losing. They especially don't like wrecking early in the race. Kevin Harvick, we know that he said some snippy comments based on what Mr. Bob Pockris just told us. Yep. And I don't know how Bob does this, but he is all over the racetrack. He is all over the garage area. There's not a story that he is not the first one to, and he's done it yet again for us. He updated us on what took place there over at the Care Center and how frustrated some of the drivers were as they exited the Care Center, and rightfully so. You know, these guys, this is their livelihood. This is their career. They want to go out there and win every time. They want to do the best that they can for their team. And Michael, we were just talking about the passion, the emotion, everything that these guys are showing when they're coming into the garage area. You did make a liar out of me because I didn't think the drivers were allowed to speak to any of us until after they went to the Care Center. Matt tiffed. Actually, we got a few words in there, so that was nice. We were kind of we were breaking barriers here on the hot pass. That was new.
I didn't know. He just was standing there, so I said
it was perfect. It was great. I just got done saying, though, I don't think he can talk to him. I don't think he can talk. Oh, there he goes.
I'm not a pit reporter, so I didn't know the rules. But Matt was really
I don't know the rules either, and I am in the pits a lot of times.
But, you know, you talk about the passion and what these drivers – you ought to seen the faces on the Love's crew guys. You know, when I talked to them,
weren't
just
they?
So they knew that this was a perfect day for them. And Regan, I don't know if we've talked about access and interaction. I think you should give it a try. Bubba's car's down there. They've got to do a lot of work on it to get it repaired enough to even load it. Yep. Maybe you could see if there's a crew guy down there or two that you know, get his comments about what happened. And then the stage is getting ready to end. I believe we're going to have some pit stops.
We can shoot out to pit road and maybe check out what's going on there.
Stop at the 43 and head out to pit road and see what you can see, and we'll hang with you.
I like that plan.
I do, too.
I think we need to do that here.
Do we have a poll or do we have a fan question, and then we'll do that?
We actually do have a fan question from Paul, and Paul's been giving a lot of great comments today. He's been on screen a couple times.
Where's he
Paul,
from?
I do not know where Paul's from, but he is an avid NASCAR fan, and I like it. So Paul wants to know, what do you think of Matt DiBenedetto's chances today? He's been kind of back and forth. He was in the top 10 there for a little while, maybe the top 5. What do you think about Matt D in Talladega?
Well, here's the thing that I think we sometimes lose track of. David Regan was probably the last big upset winner at Talladega. Prior to him, it's been a while. Maybe Trevor Bayne at Daytona. It rarely happens. So what Matt DiBenedetto needs to focus on, he wants to win the race, obviously, but just if he can survive and be around at the end of this race and put in a run at the checker to finish in the top 5, that would be an awesome accomplishment for him and that team. He and that team. I just messed up my grammar. But here's the deal on that. Be around at the end. Take advantage of this opportunity. Now, when I say that, what about darn Michael McDowell? He was doing everything perfect. Top 5. Can't get crashed, right? Wiped out right there. His chance taken away. So Matt just needs to focus on not causing a wreck. And if he sees one, obviously be prepared to avoid it. And I think he can be a contender at the end. Do I think he can win? I'm going to put those odds pretty long, a pretty long shot to do that. But he can be in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, and absolutely. Yesterday, seeing Gray Galding in the SS Greenlight machine up there battling for the win at the end of that race, that's a good sign for some of these guys for an upset here in Talladega.
If we could just quickly talk about that race yesterday, that Xfinity race with the job that Tyler Reddick did and Gray Galding, that race gave me everything I wanted to see, as is the Cup Boys today. This is really intriguing. Great runs, great battles, great racing.
Absolutely. More of that, I'm sure, is going to come throughout the course of the day. We have 24 to go in this stage, so let's send it to Regan, who is going to be roving around the garage right now. Regan, what are you seeing?
Okay, guys, thank you guys for sending it back this way. We are en route right now. As we see, we've still got the 34 of Michael McDowell's car here. Talk to these guys. Heavy damage with this. Much like Michael, I am still carrying around young Ryan Blaney. He is in the race still. Certainly one of the guys that I expect to contend. Bubba Wallace's car. We haven't had an opportunity to see Bubba Wallace's car yet. Some heavy contact to this race car, and it is going to take a while to unload or to load this race car up. Crops. Rough day for you guys. I know expecting big things. That car was very fast early on. What happens from here on out now? You guys just get this thing loaded up, hop on the airplane, and get out of here?
Yep, heading to the house.
Heading to the house. What was your expectation? When you saw the start of that race, you saw how good this thing was running. Were you thinking, win today, this is going to be our day?
The car was very fast. I was really surprised at how well we was able to pull out in the draft, pass lap, So, it's just one of those deals. Got a little bit loose, but, we can hold our heads up high because the car was fast.
We know how tough this is on the drivers, right? I'm a driver. I hate crashing. It's the worst thing in the world, and I get so mad about it. But what's it like for the guys that are working on the team, the pit crews, the guys back in the shops? What's that emotion like when you see your car get involved in a big wreck?
It's bad, but, coming into these races, anything can happen. You can, so come out, we wrecked, but also we come out with a positive because the car was so fast.
Love the attitude. I love the fact that there are positives you can take from what's a tough day. Thank you for talking to us for a minute here. Guys, I want to show you something on front of these race cars also, and this is that we've talked all week long about what the difficulties with the Chevy nose are. If you get right in close here, you can see that the Chevrolet nose has a very, very finely pointed section to that nose. The other manufacturers don't have that. The other manufacturers are flat across right here. And because they're flat in that area, it allows the cars to push and bump more easily. The Chevy drivers knew that this was going to be a possible area of concern for them coming into the race this weekend. Unfortunately, we've already seen that bite. The 43 of Bubba Wallace, a number of other cars that were involved in that wreck. I don't personally think that's the last time we're going to see that happen. I think we're going to likely see some more incidents that are involving the nose cone of the race cars. We're turning the side of the garage here, and as we turn the side of the garage, it's really cool. You can see and hear, obviously, as loud as it is, you can see all the fans sitting down the front stretch through here. This is the entrance to pit road. This is the area where we can go and get access to the crew members, to the guys that are going to go over the wall, that have already gone over the wall today, all the fans in the stands. This is one of my favorite views at a racetrack, is the view where you can take it all in and you can see all the passion that's going on, not only in the crowd. We've got race fans sitting here watching the big screen. These folks are just here enjoying the race on the big screen. They get to see the cars come back down through into the pits. How's everybody doing over here today? Are you guys having fun? So I got to ask the question. I know some guys are out of the race already. Who's going to win today?
What?
Who's your driver? Who's going to win this race today?
I thought Jimmy Johnson.
Well, who's your second pick now?
Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah. Jimmy had a little bit of trouble there. I'm not sure that it's quite going to be his day. So if you had a second pick, does anybody think I'm really selling Ryan Blaney pretty hard today? Anybody think Ryan Blaney's got this?
Yeah, I like Ryan Blaney.
All right, we like Ryan Blaney. All right. Is everybody having fun? That's the biggest key. Look at this. Everybody having fun. They can't quite see the whole racetrack, but they got a heck of a TV right in front of them here. Fox NASCAR coverage, a wonderful job up here on this TV. You guys have fun today. We're going to continue out to pit road here. And looking at the stage breaks, we're still 19 laps away from a stage break. So what that means, with 19 laps till the stage break, that means the teams will just now be starting to prepare, unless there's a caution. If we happen to have a caution, we got one of our NASCAR on Fox camera guys over here. Jake, we're going to take a picture of him taking a picture of us. Jake with me a lot of times on pit road, one of the best guys in the business. He does a phenomenal job. But these guys will be starting to get ready now for pit stops. So they've got a few moments to sit here, to watch the race themselves, to watch what their drivers are doing. Already, the pit box over here to the side, this is Kevin Harvick's pit box. This is how quick these teams can pack up and prepare to leave. They just fell out of the race 10 minutes ago, and this pit box is ready to get loaded on a hauler and sent home. Just look at the raw speed. These cars are flying around this racetrack with this rules package. You can see Kevin Harvick's pit box was very likely similar to the pit box that we're seeing of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. right here. And they got that all packaged up that quickly to get ready to send home. Alex Bowman's pit box. Let's walk up here and see if see what they've got going on their car right now. Jeff Andrews, head of Hendrick. Jeff, how are you doing today? Having a good run? So, as these guys prepare, Dustin, well, I picked Ryan Blaney. Sorry, guys, I picked Ryan Blaney to win today. So it's gonna get loud. Michael, these race cars are loud. We got about 40 seconds to talk now. I picked Ryan Blaney to win today, so I got to carry his fat head around with me all day long, evidently. But what do you guys do right now as you're sitting here getting ready for this next pit stop? How soon do you have to jump into action?
We got about 20 laps, 16 to go, and then we're going to come down. Greg's got a strategy. We know that. We can't tell you guys that, and then we're going to do our deal, But we hang out and watch the race, enjoy it.
Do you stretch out? Is there a point where you guys have really got to warm up, or have you already done all that type of stuff right now?
Yeah, we do that right before the race starts. And as the race goes on, these suits keep us pretty warm, so.
I couldn't hear half of what you said because it is loud out here. It is pit road. It's one of the greatest places to be. What, in terms of, yet again, you think these guys knew we were trying to do a web show, but when we look at the tire right here, describe to us what we've got going on. So we've got the tire, we've got the lug nuts glued up. What's the whole key to those lug nuts to make sure they don't fall off of there? What keeps those on there?
Well, we prep them about 3 to 4 hours before the race. And our changers, they do a good job of checking the lug nuts at the shop before we bring them here to the racetrack. They glue them up with like an adhesive weather stripping so it stretches on the stud so they don't pop off. And then us tire carriers, we tape it, orange or green for rights and lefts, and we go to town.
I love it. You guys do an amazing job. Good luck today. One of the best pit crews in the business. We're seeing a little bit of behind-the-scenes stuff right now. Tire pressure adjustments going on. Probably not as important here as some of the racetracks that we go to. Always cool when I get to see one of the guys that used to go over the wall for me. I don't think I ever hit him, so that's a good thing. Brand new race team here, the IK9 team. Their first race, they have a Joe Gibbs affiliation. a lot of Joe Gibbs crew members on that race car, a lot of longtime Joe Gibbs crew members. And this is where I want to be. I want to see how many of these guys know whose face I'm holding up. Of course, everybody looking at their phones, probably checking out for our digital coverage right now of the race. Hey guys, this is my pick for today. What do you guys think? I have to carry this around until he wins the race. So, can you radio him and tell him to win the race so I can set this down finally? These guys are serious right now. Doing a very nice job. NASCAR on Fox pit reporter Matt Yoakum, he's actually doing a hit right now. I can tell because he's talking and he's watching what is called a jerk cam. That camera that he's watching, that allows him to know what they're showing on the TV so that he can make sure he's talking about the right thing as he's talking. And if something does happen, he can get it back to the booth as quickly as possible. I believe he just finished up his quick hit right there. Matt intently watching this right here. Hey, how's the race going for you?
Everybody doing great. I'd love to have order a pizza, hang out with you over there, and get some chips and salsa.
I'll bring one out to you later. Thanks, Matt. Another one of the cars that's fallen out of the race, the 34 car, Michael McDowell. Pit crew member David Mayo. David, another one of my longtime pit crew members. David, rough day. Did you guys, I mean, you thought you had this right where you wanted early on with a fast race car?
Yes, sir, of course. It was.
Don't yes, sir, me.
You're a sir now. You're a father of two. You are a sir.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. We did see Kenyatta at the top of the show. Kenyatta, yeah, we did. You walked past our digital coverage. This is live on millions of websites and people's computers right now. So, well, you didn't get to make a pit stop today. How frustrating is that when you don't get to go over the wall and do what you love going over the wall?
It's always frustrating when you don't get to do your job. You know, you come here to have the opportunity to win the race and to go out that early, it's just your day's over and there's nothing left. I mean, that's what we're here for, the big Talladega, is to win, and we had the car to definitely do it. So.
Yeah, and we talked to your driver. He was equally as disappointed that you have a car that's capable of winning. Can't quite pull that off. Thank you guys for talking with us. Best of luck at Dover next week. We're getting closer to pit stops. I still think we're about 10 laps away, 11 laps away roughly. The 19 car of Martin Truex Jr., our last winner at Richmond. We're starting to see a little more commotion around these pit boxes. The commotion is usually a sign that everybody's preparing. We could potentially see guys decide to come down pit road maybe with 3 laps to go in the stage. If they think they need 2 tires, if they want to get track position, we could see some green flag stops at the end of that stage to create a scenario where they could pass some more of the cars that maybe decide to get stage points and stay out. So we got to keep an eye on that happening at some point. We'll keep walking a little further down here and show you guys the fueling systems. I'm always intrigued by the fueling systems. So what we have here is the fuel can. This is the dump can. This is what the crew members will use to put the fuel in the race car. They've got to hold this can up. It's roughly 80 pounds that they're holding on their shoulders. Very, very heavy. Actually might be a little heavier than that. But this brake is what essentially opens up. And if we get a shot from this angle, this brake actually pushes in, opens up. That allows that fuel to get into that race car extremely quick. A lot of technology goes into these fuel dump cans, making sure things flow right. We've seen a number of races lost because maybe a problem on the venting system of one of those, which can really frustrate just about anybody. Okay, we talked about what's getting ready to happen. Right now we see guys communicating with each other. Let's watch this Wood Brothers pit stall of Paul Menard. This is one of the cars that is about to come down pit road early. They're going to come down pit road early and try to leapfrog some of the field. We saw the communication from one of the gas guys right here. This is the man who's going to hand the can over. He's watching the big screen behind us. He sees his car on the big screen peeling onto pit road. If we get the shot back out front here, he's going to be coming in and watch how lightning fast this pit stop happens. The 10 car of ARIC ALMIROLA, all the Fords. This is a Ford deal. They're all pitting together right now. There's Paul Menard. It's gas only. They had that hand signal. Very quick pit stop. every Ford so far that we see, all the Penske Fords anyways, not every Ford, but all the Penske Fords, along with ARIC ALMIROLA, that was a planned pit stop. They wanted to have that happen, so business is about to pick up down here. A lot of cars will likely have to do, if they're on this same sequence, will likely be coming down pit road at a similar time as these guys just did. And now, hearing in the side right now, ARIC ALMIROLA, a penalty, just a little bit too quick on entry. After the pit stop, this is always interesting. So, after the pit stop, the crew guys actually come out here and look at all the dirt and rubber and debris on pit road, on the pit stall that is built up. Denny Hamlin coming down pit road right there. They come down and actually blow that dirt, rubber, and debris. We see it over my shoulder as well in the Geico pit. They're getting ready to pit, and they're cleaning off their pit stall. After they pit, they have to get all that stuff off of the stall because it makes it slippery for the driver if they don't. Makes it tougher to stop in their pit stall. As well as the old lug nuts. The old lug nuts have to get thrown off of there. Let's take a trip right now. We're at the 95 Levine Family Racing. I drove some races for these guys last year. We're gonna climb up on the pit box. How we doing, guys? So as we climb up on the pit box here, we see a lot of stuff going on over our shoulders. So we've got the crew chief, the engineers, the general manager, everybody sitting down. They're all working. They're looking at different feeds of different things, and we're not going to show exactly what they're looking at because there is a lot of technology involved with these systems, but they have lap times. They have fuel programs that allows them to say exactly what lap they have to pit on, when they think they can make it to, when they don't know if they can make it to. Our NASCAR and Fox race feed up here in the corner, and these guys are all communicating amongst each other. We've got fans on the pit box here with them. How's everybody up here doing? Are you guys having fun up here? What's the best thing you've seen? We'll wait till the cars go by. What is the best thing you've seen so far today?
It blows me away how quick they're in and out of the pits.
So you guys have gotten to see a pit stop already today. Who's your favorite driver?
Matt DiBenedetto.
Good answer. That was a trick question. I was making sure you were paying attention. We hope you guys all have fun up here today. Thanks for letting us butt into the middle of your race here for just a second. See if we can get down off of this pit box. We'll get ready to wrap it up here from pit road in just a second. Seen a lot of cool things so far. I didn't fall down the pit box, so that's great. That would have been bad. Michael, I agree with you. It is certainly warm out here today. And we're going to have to assume that most of the cars right now that have not yet pitted, they're going to wait till the end of the stage. I can't see exactly how many laps away from the end of the stage we are, but not a lot of action yet. Well, the 32 team, they've got their pit box or their pit sign set up. Take a look at this. This is the pit sign. With this being up in the air, this pit sign over here would lead you to believe these guys are probably pretty close to pitting. We got a crew member on the wall with the pit wrench in his hand. Usually means they're thinking about possibly coming soon. Not exactly sure what their strategy is right now. The Fords that pitted early on that we documented that pit stop, they just went cruising by. Not any activity in Denny Hamlin's pit. They've unfortunately had some damage. A little bit of a problem for them. Daniel Suarez, his pit crew off to my right. These guys are looking like they're pretty well mellowed out at the moment. And as we get towards the end of pit road, you see there's a lot of stuff going on up and down pit road, fans everywhere. We'll go ahead and get ready, and guys, I'm going to send it back to you because we've only got 3 stalls left and we can't go any further.
Awesome, Regan.
Yeah, that was great access. Wow, he must be tired after he did that walk.
Yeah, and it was
he
cool
talked for like 10 minutes straight.
Cool to see him go up on top of the boxes and talk
yeah.
to some of the crew guys. That's a lot of fun. Caitlin, a couple of shout-outs.
Yes, let's hear it.
He was on Levine Family Racing's box. Matt DiBenedetto are currently running 6th.
Yep.
And Ryan Newman in a crash earlier with his Acorns car. Is that how you say it? Is it Acorns?
I think so, yeah. 7th right now for Ryan Newman.
And then what about right behind him?
Justin Haley.
What is today?
He's got a birthday, huh?
Yeah.
20?
20 years old, making his Cup debut in that 77 car, and he's running in the top 10. That's got to be, I mean, that's got to be the best 20th birthday ever.
Heck yeah, I would think so. And we know Justin, obviously, from the Truck Series and covering the NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series. Good guy. He's turned a lot of heads, I feel like, in the last 2 years.
And he's done such a great job transitioning to the Xfinity. So how about a little 4 wide? Looks like maybe Truex is off the pace. Is he out of gas?
Oh.
We're
He started at the back, but he had made his way up to the front early. Now he's going backwards again.
Yeah, maybe he had a sign, a fuel pressure indicator that was off, and he just decided to back off the gas to make sure he can run this final lap in Stage 1. We're in the last lap of Stage 1. Ty Dillon, do you remember what happened at Bristol?
Yes.
Ty Dillon won a stage. And do you know how
emotional he was after that? Yeah.
And now here we are at Talladega. He's going to have to drive his butt off for about 1.5 miles here to get this stage victory, because Alex Bowman, brother Austin Dillon, right there against his bumper. These guys are going to be wanting the stage win, getting that playoff point. A little bit of movement there from Daniel Suarez. He's gone up top. Some push from David Reagan, but it looks like Ty Dillon's going to be able to win this stage.
Yeah, wow. Second stage win for him so far this year. That's awesome.
Those are the baby steps you look to make, Caitlin. If you're a racer and you drive for a team like the Geico team, Bob Germain and the folks that own that group, it's the Geico 500, darn it.
Yeah, right. How perfect.
I mean, you want to make sure you do something special in the Geico 500 if you drive the Geico car, and he's able to do just that. So that's pretty awesome. And how fitting, by the way, come back here, Kyle.
Yeah.
How fitting, by the way, is it that Geico is the sponsor of this 500?
Yeah, Ty Dillon, stage winner, Alex Bowman, Austin Dillon, Chase Elliott, Daniel Suarez, all in the top 5 for the first stage. Where's your race pick? I know he's in your hand.
Right here.
But where did he end up?
He's top 10, right?
Top 10? Okay.
I think so. There's some differing strategy there.
There is.
Some guys pitted in order not to pit here at this stage break. So I think it'd be interesting to see what kind of strategy indeed does play out. And I'm wondering if that 19 car, Martin Truex, we saw him fall off the pace with just a couple of laps to go. I'm wondering if they've got enough gas to get to pit lane. And remember, Caitlin, you see that giant spoiler on the back of the 19 car. That changes fuel mileage. They have the big splitter on the front. That means more downforce in the front. That means it takes more power to push that car through the air because of that downforce. That increases fuel mileage.
Okay.
I've ridden with you before. You got a big old heavy foot.
I do?
Yeah. And you know how you like to gun it. And when you gun it,
I get speeding tickets.
you lose gas mileage. So these guys are right on the edge of making it to this stage break.
And we see a number of them obviously down on pit road. I know we have a recap video kind of showing some of the big moments that have already happened so far in this race. So let's kind of take a look at what happened so far and went down in this first stage here at Talladega, the 100th Cup Series race we are seeing here. Here we go, Michael. This was obviously one of the moments from earlier today.
Bubba just had a run. He tried to go to the inside, and a lot of the racers, I think, were saying it's a little bit too early for that. But, man, I got to tell you how good it feels to be up front when you haven't been up front. And Bubba just pushed it a little bit there, and unfortunately his mistake cost others, and that's when you feel the worst. If you make a mistake and you're able to admit to yourself, I messed up, and you're the only one that it took out, that's one thing. But when you end the day of a guy like Michael McDowell, Matt Tiff does a great job, but unfortunately a splitter goes right into the front of his car. Kevin Harvick hard into the wall. Just a lot of action there that we saw.
And you got great access to those drivers just shortly after we saw that incident, getting comments from them. Obviously, all of them very disappointed. But what's maybe your biggest surprise from the first stage of what we've seen so far, Michael?
Well, stage 1 winner, Ty Dillon. You'd have to call that a surprise. I talked earlier in the broadcast about how these underdog teams could run in the top 5. You know, they could get up toward the front. But it would be really difficult to think that you would pick a David Reagan over Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney.
Right.
You know, the front row car over a Penske car. You wouldn't think that would be possible. But Ty Dillon just showed us all that at Talladega, anything is possible by getting this stage win.
That's the beauty of this place, right? Speaking of beauty, here's Regan Smith back with us. Hey, good job out there, man. That was legit. Did you did you take a breath ever?
I didn't get to breathe much. It's warm out there. I got to tell you what. We talk about pit crew members being athletes and how squeeze right in there. Sorry. we talk about pit crew members being athletes and how difficult their job is on a day like today. Mikey came back and he told us it was hot out there, and I didn't really believe him. I just thought, Mikey, maybe you're just
out of
shape. You need to run another marathon. Maybe you're out of shape. Well, I'm sweating now as well. It is warm out there today, and honestly, probably the warmest race of the year to this point that I can remember. So a lot of fun, a lot of cool stuff on pit road. And we can only touch on bits and pieces of it. These guys are busy. They're doing a job. And the fact that any of them can take the time out to talk to us is wonderful. And you just kind of get a little bit of a sense of what they're going through down there in the trenches, as we call it.
Michael and I were just talking about the surprise of seeing Ty Dillon capture the Stage 1 victory. What do you make of that for him?
Unreal. As I was walking back, I actually looked up on the big screen, and I'm like, I wonder who's going to win this stage. And I made the comment earlier this week that I felt like Ty Dillon had probably won his only stage of the year at Bristol a couple of weeks ago when he did such an amazing job of driving that car, and he just outwilled him. He wanted that car to be to the front more than anybody else, and he did that a great job of it a couple of weeks ago. Well, I'm wrong already. I predicted on Tuesday, I think it was, that we were doing a podcast, and I said, I don't think we see that happen again. Well, he proved me wrong. Ty Dillon doing a very nice job today, and he's a determined race car driver.
Michael had a good point. Geico car in the Geico 500.
That's right.
Yeah.
I wonder if he gets a bonus for that.
Yeah, he should. And if these guys that we saw crashing and we talked to, if they had Geico, they could save 15% in just 15 minutes.
I like that.
Do these cars, CJ Wolver, would you dig into the internet? Do these cars have Geico as sponsors? Can we get these things fixed in 15 minutes and save 15%?
We want to get them fixed in 15 minutes? That's 10 more minutes than they're allowed to have to get these cars fixed.
So you might be able to fix them in 15, but NASCAR is going to throw you out of the race anyways.
We can get it fixed. I think the internet absolutely agrees with us on that. But I want to make sure everyone knows we are taking Twitter questions during this stream as well. If you would like to be a part of the show and you're watching us on Periscope Twitter, just use #HotPass, and I'll scroll through them, and we'll see what the guys think. The first Twitter question is from one of our media friends that's actually here at the race today, Caleb Whistler, wanting to know, what has intrigued you guys the most from the racing that we saw in the first stage? What's the most surprising?
Well, for me, it was definitely the win by Ty Dillon. That would have to be way up on the list of surprises during that first stage. But also just the competitiveness, how these guys were able to really mix it up, and how hard, I guess maybe the biggest surprise, Regan, what do you think, was how hard they went at it early?
Yeah. I think the racing early on caught me off guard, and I anticipated, I made the comment earlier today that I felt like they would go ahead and probably be pretty clean for the first 120 laps as they'd learned what was going on the racetrack, how they needed to handle these race cars, what moves they could make. But these guys came right out of the gate, and they were 3 and 4 wide almost immediately. Didn't really seem to be that concerned about if the cars were going to jump sideways or do something that they didn't want them to do when they were in the pack. The other thing that I was intrigued by was the fact that when I was out on pit road just now, we saw the Penske cars all come down together. Of course, the Wood Brothers 21 having a Penske affiliation, as well as the 10 of ARIC Almirola. Yeah, some varying strategies there, and would have thought, and I couldn't quite gauge where they were running on the track at the time because I lost track of it for a second as I was walking out there, but I don't know if they just said, hey, we have a plan, we're sticking with our plan today, and this is the best way for us to run our race. Perhaps they're running the race backward, and by backward I mean doing whatever they have to do to make sure that they can pit and be out front with the most laps to go as possible for their drivers, or where that strategy lays for those guys. So even though we talk about being able to have these big drafts and being able to catch up very quickly this weekend at the track, they're still playing that track position game just a little bit.
And something I'm going to be following and watching throughout Stage 2 and as we get toward the end of the race, which one of these guys that was involved in that big crash early in the race, lap 10 or so, can get their car repaired and get back into contention.
Redeem themselves.
We were watching on TV there. They were doing a lot of work to the 14 car of Clint Boyer. We know Denny Hamlin had some damage. Who can do what Tyler Reddick did yesterday and maybe not win the race like Tyler did, but make repairs and get that car back into shape where they can go contend for the victory?
Well, I feel like Denny, sorry to step on you there, he's one of those guys we've seen a lot of time overcome adversity throughout his races. When things go wrong, it seems like he still manages
Daytona 500
to be there at the end, even if he gets a penalty on pit road for speeding or what have you.
He's probably passed more cars than anyone this year. We have 2.
This year, maybe in his entire career, he's had more penalties than most of them as well.
Yeah, but in 2019, we have these new cars, and people are like, it's hard to pass. Don't tell Denny Hamlin it's hard to pass. He passes everybody.
What I like about that team is, at Daytona in the 500, I was in their pit stall. I was working that particular pit stall. They persevered more than any team just about all year long, from what I could tell. They had a problem early on. Looked like the car to win, and that was a track position race. It was difficult to work your way and maneuver your way from the back to the front the way that race played out. And they had their fueling issues. They fixed the fueling issues. They were able to, and we talked about that with the dump cans and the venting problems. They had a venting problem with their dump can in the 500 as we were just walking up and down pit road a second ago. They fixed that issue, and he still is able to get himself back forward in the pack, get out in the front, and find a way to get it done.
This is all part of strategy. They all had, they were out of gas. They were just trying to make it to the end of that stage. So what we're having here, Caitlin, you can see those pitting too soon. That's fine. They knew they were going to do that. That was part of the plan. But what we have here is a major reset. I mean, this stage ending and the differing strategies and the caution we had earlier, this is a huge reset for this race. I'm going to be really interested to see how stage 2 develops, because you got some really fast cars now that are in the back of the field.
The other thing that resets also, we got to point out, we talked about the cars coming down pit road to fix their race cars. That 5-minute clock resets every time we have another green flag for guys that have damage, that are working on the damage on their race cars.
All right, and stage 2 is underway from Talladega Superspeedway. Again, reminding you are watching Fox Hot Pass Hangout, presented by Coca-Cola Orange Vanilla.
There's nothing vanilla about this race.
Not at all.
And that's why they put the orange in the Coca-Cola.
That's right.
So it could accent the vanilla.
That was a perfect segue. Well done.
That's why Mikey's a true pro at this.
He is, I know.
I got a lot of weird stuff going on in my head.
I have a question for the two.
I don't think we'll argue with that either.
I would like to know from the two of you, as guys who've both raced here and won here, what is the sensation of speed like inside the cars racing at Talladega?
Well, when you get packed up, and especially on restarts, when you're really 2 and 3 wide, like we're seeing these guys go right now, I think for me, the sensation was far greater. I walked out to pit road on Friday, and I wanted to see, as the cars came through the tri-oval, what it looked like. Because sometimes we come here and it doesn't look as fast, and it doesn't seem quite as quick as what it actually is. And I'm going to tell you what, the sensation of speed just on pit road was ridiculously fast this weekend with these rules. And you could visibly tell that the cars just seemed like they had another gear to them than what they sometimes do when we come to the super speedway races. It's something about this track and being bunched up that makes it feel fast. When you're by yourself, it doesn't feel that fast. It doesn't feel that difficult, because it's all relative to the size of the racetrack. When we go to Dover next week, when you're by yourself, it feels extremely fast because it is such a tight technical racetrack. But when you're in the pack, that's when it feels fast. And the other time it feels fast is when you hit something. It feels really fast when you hit something.
I think for me it's more about the speed is one thing, but just how quickly things can happen.
Yeah.
And that's evident when something goes wrong. You get swept into a crash that you might have been, a quarter of a straightaway behind, because you just can't make those moves that quickly. And the other thing, as I wound my career down and just ran one-off races here, is how these cars have changed over the years. They are so precise. You just move the wheel a little bit, and that thing will go a different direction. And I was glad I got to experience that. And that's a great thing for speed. That makes the car go faster because everything's more precise. But it's really difficult when you get in a bind and you got to make a quick move with the steering wheel.
Well, and you talked about the added downforce to the cars this weekend, on the front of the cars in particular, up even more. And I'm surprised we didn't see a lot of guys changing steering boxes to slow the steering boxes down, maybe a little more old school with the way that the rules are set to allow them to not have to be quite as precise. But as Mikey mentioned, the quick steering boxes, the settings on the camber, the caster, the things they're doing with these race cars to make them go fast in a straight line, they dart around. That's a common complaint when you unload here. My car is darting all over the racetrack.
And then the difficulty of the tri-oval. Regan, you know this. And
it's got different banking. Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy how your car will want to just spin out going through the tri-oval. So that's something these drivers are challenged with. And a topic, or something I want everybody to follow, is remember what I asked earlier. Who would overcome being in that crash? And look who's right up front. Chase Elliott. He had a piece of that earlier. And then differing strategies. Ty Dillon, even though he had a different strategy, he's back in the top 5 again. So people overcoming adversity, or just simply being able to adjust and adapt to differing strategies.
Michael, you talked about this briefly earlier, the spotter communication between you and your spotter. How important is that at a place like this?
Oh, it's crucial, and I hope everybody watched the Xfinity race yesterday and heard Derek Nealon and Tyler Reddick communicating. He was saying he's got to run half off, get to the middle, man, when I was a racer, I liked my spotters, but I think that would have been an information overload for me.
Wait, you didn't tell me that. I think we had a different story about it. Maybe it was a different spotter we're talking about. I
tolerated my spotter. But I just was really interested to hear all the information that drivers get these days. That's the 00 of is that Landon Castle?
Landon Castle backing out of the garage area behind us.
Getting back into the battle.
Making a little bit of noise.
Yeah, we're right here in the elements, as you can see.
Just to make sure we know that we are in the garage area.
Yeah, we are here.
I'll tell you who was in the elements. That was Regan. That was cool, buddy.
That was cool.
That was a lot of fun out there on pit road, and I get to see that every week on pit road, and so much respect. I didn't have a true appreciation for what those guys do until I got out of the car and I was able to start doing the pit reporting and walking up and down and really talking to a lot more of them and understanding what happens when we were actually on the racetrack. How much work is going into getting ready for the pit stop, how much the crew guys are doing, how much the guys on top of the pit box, the engineers, whatever it might be. To take us back for a second to the spotter talk, like Michael pointed out, the key to a lot of these speedway races, and Michael was one of the best at it, so I know he knows this, is being extremely aggressive. And I feel like the guys that are most aggressive, they do one of two things. They either crash or they win these races. And I know it sounds bad to say it that way, but ultimately you are going to win this race. Somebody's going to win the race when it's all said and done today with a move that is super, super aggressive. And we're gonna sit back and say, oh, why'd he do that? He almost crashed the field. And then we're going to say, wow, he won the race. Good job. Right. And it's going to be because of one of those moves. That's what it takes to get it done. And because of that, you have to have that very, very good line of communication with your spotter. We listened to it yesterday with Derek Nealon and Reddick. And I'm sure on the broadcast right now, we're hearing a lot of spotter chatter as we watch. They're cranking it up right now. We're hearing a lot of spotter chatter. And that is a relationship. I wouldn't call it quite a husband-wife relationship, but it's not far from that. And sometimes you fight just as much. So it's a very critical relationship.
Fun to see Brendan gone. Brendan had a communion for one of his children.
That's right.
Yesterday and couldn't be here to qualify. Came into town and he's got that number 62 Beard Oil car up in that lead draft. I appreciate underdogs doing special things, and I think Brendan's being able to accomplish that. Hang around in that lead draft and avoid the big one. You might do something special for your small team. I talked to Mark Beard, team owner, and he reminded me that back in 1980, he made his first Busch Series start, which is now the Xfinity Series. He ran some races back in the early 80s. He's owns an oil company, lives up in Michigan, and they started a team, and he wanted Brendan to drive for him.
That's a great story.
And they run the Daytona 500 in Talladega. These are the only races he runs, but that's fun to see. He had him a camper here in Talladega and was just enjoying the elements.
That's awesome.
How could you not enjoy the elements of the infield of this racetrack? And Brendan Gaughan, a fitness specialist. He's really into a lot of, plays a lot of basketball, things like that.
And
now you're just making stuff up.
How are the elements for you, CJ? I know we got to get over to you.
Oh, I'm at the racetrack, so I'm fantastic right now. But
you're in your element.
This is CJ's element. So one thing I just want to make sure I touch on. Everyone still agrees with Regan saying 50% of the fans right now think Ryan Blaney goes to victory lane today. But as we know, everything is bigger in Talladega, including and maybe especially the crashes. Let's look back at some of the biggest and wildest incidents here in Alabama.
Record is waving. Ernie Ehrman wins and Rusty spins and gets airborne and flips wildly right at the start-finish line. Very reminiscent of his accident at Daytona.
Picture, and it looks, there he is. Earnhardt right up on the back bumper of Rusty, and he does touch him.
That's
and
why
around he goes. That's one reason that Dale Earnhardt went down there.
That's why he was so concerned, because he touched Rusty Wallace to start this situation, it looks like.
And the car overturns about 6 or 7 times, pirouetting on its nose, end over end, side over side, comes to a rest on its wheels.
Earnhardt on the inside and Sterling Marlin outside.
And Ernie going with Earnhardt down on the inside. That's going to hit. Oh, he touched trouble.
Terrible crash. Front of the field, all torn up. Earnhardt's car destroyed. a major crash.
But you can see Earnhardt is leading. Ernie Irvan trying to pass the 4 car of Sterling Marlin, touches him, shoots the left front of Marlin's car down into Earnhardt. Earnhardt into the wall, and then since they were at the front of the pack, lots of other cars came along and got involved.
He's up. He's up. That's a good sign, boys. He's walking.
So he's hurt his ribs.
Drafting help from Brian Vickers. They're going to go 3 wide behind him. It's McMurray, Harvick, and Keselowski 3 wide for the lead in the win.
Joey Logano pushing Brad Keselowski. McMurray trying to get in line. He's going to get turned. Clint Boyer's going to turn him. And the crash is 1 car upside down in the fence on fire as they race off turn number 4. A wild crash here.
Multi-car crash up in turn number 4.
A wild crash to this one. It started when Jamie McMurray tried to slam that car down across the nose of Clint Boyer. He got turned and shot him up the racetrack, and it was on from there. And this end of the racetrack is littered with debris.
Ben Rhodes collects a bunch of them. Oh, man. The big one at Talladega. Look at the damage.
Brandon Brown got swept into that, and there's the 00 of Cole Custer.
The 41 of Rhodes, the second truck up there on the outside. That's where it all started.
Looked like he might have got a shove from the 17 of Timothy Peters.
Well, I talked about how he's able to push so well. That means he's always up against the truck in front of him, and there isn't any room for Timothy to push him and push him ahead because he's already bottomed out against the truck in front of him, caused him to go sideways. Look at all that sheet metal flying through the air and those trucks grinding to a stop.
You have to guess which one.
Well, that's why he's doing what he's doing. He's just mirror driving all over the racetrack.
Oh, trouble. Elliott Sadler over 1.5 and on his roof. Now the car tumbling hard onto the pavement in turn 3. Caution is out. A terrible crash.
Okay, man.
Okay. The attention already focused on the Elliott Sadler car. And here he comes out the window.
Now, that's great.
Easy does it. Now don't cut yourself.
Oh, that's good to see.
He's out.
And these guys are Dyson. Go ahead, BP.
And there he makes contact. He comes down trying to get in front of Kurt Busch. They make contact. Watch that thing fly. Now that it lands on that road you talked about.
And then when it gets onto the racetrack again, takes another nasty flip. Watch this hit.
That's the hard one right here.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they all look pretty hard.
Yeah, they do. I don't want to be in there in any of them.
And like I said, that car really held up well above the driver.
Kyle Busch's hopes reside with Brad Keselowski and his ability to push.
Well, he's getting a nice push from him.
Oh, trouble. Harvick's around.
Oh, got spun on the backstretch by the 43.
How many is it going to collect?
Hold the brake.
Oh, what a vicious crash. Eric McClure. Accident that began at the front of the pack, jockeying for position to race for the win. Ends with some heavily damaged cars. So the red flag is out in the middle of the first attempt at a green-white checker finish, a multi-car accident. Over in turn number 3 at the end of the backstretch. But the bulk of the concern remains focused around the Eric McClure car. After the hard crash he took to that inside wall.
Can Keselowski try to win it?
I don't know. I don't think he can step out until he waits till the last second and picks
He
up.
goes to the outside. Is Edwards going?
Oh, no!
He turns him.
No!
Oh, and that destroyed the front end of Newman's car.
No!
Edwards will not make it to the flag.
Oh, Carl did what he wanted to do. He stayed at the back all day long. He played it smart. Had this race possibly won. Not now.
Let's take a look, Mike. Carl Edwards, he opened it up just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think this is a hard lick right into the fence. I mean, that car, that looked like Bobby Allison did here in 1987. Carl went up to block him a little bit. Now he's going to come down and try to block him again, and you get one shot at it, but you don't get two. Watch this.
What a lick. Oh my gosh.
Unbelievable.
Here comes that 98 and the 88 tandem in the middle of the track. Johnny Sauter, he won at Daytona earlier this year. Can he do it again? They wreck behind him. They're rolling behind him. Now the 88 spins. Thor Sport is going to win. It's going to be Johnny Sauter that will get the win, but they wreck behind him.
Matt Crafton has not got to the start-finish line yet.
The 32 of Miguel Paludo was upside down. It's on fire now.
A good look back at some of the crazy wild rides at Talladega. Racing obviously still underway here as we just saw a lead change. Ryan Blaney leading the charge with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. right behind him. What do you make of what we've seen so far in Stage 2, Regan?
Well, I think that piece that we just watched with all the crazy wild rides, we might be adding to that very soon because we are seeing some extremely aggressive racing. I didn't anticipate it in the first stage. I certainly didn't anticipate it in this stage right here. And we're seeing out of some guys that we don't typically expect. A guy like Martin Truex Jr., you don't always expect him to be the most aggressive at the speedways.
And he doesn't like the speedway race.
Yeah, he's not a huge fan of it, but he is out there, and he is absolutely getting the job done today. Here we see a shot. Eric Almirola, Paul Menard, kind of Ford teammates, if you want to call it that. The Fords, to me, have been the one group today that have really committed to each other. They've been working very closely together to try and keep their cars up front. And what's taking place in this race right now is these guys are beginning to understand their cars. Kyle Busch just made a very aggressive side draft on Ricky Stenhouse Jr. They're starting to learn their cars. They're starting to try and figure out how do we stall out that run if it gets down to the end of the race. This is all calculated moves that they're making to try and understand where they've got to position themselves. Do we want to be fifth on that last lap? Do we want to be second? What's my car capable of doing when I make the move? If somebody doesn't go with me, is that move going to stall out? They're building all this stuff into their memory bank right now, and they're going to save this until they get down to the last 10 laps, and then that's when you pull out all the stops. And every trick that you've learned, and again, you've really got to load up a lot of stuff in a quick fashion here, unlike other times that we go to these races. The past 30 times we've been to these races, a lot of the stuff you would do is similar. This time it's completely different. The one thing we have not touched on this digital show today so far to this point, our Hot Pass Hangout here. Yeah. I like saying that's fun.
Hot Pass Hangout, yeah.
But the one thing we haven't touched on is the fact that they also have new aero scoops in the front of the race cars, much like they do on the typical intermediate racetracks. Those change what the cars do in terms of a side draft, and Kyle Busch made that side draft move about a lap and a half ago. It didn't stall the car out next to him like he anticipated, and instead they went right by him.
And no surprise, really, right, to see Ricky Stenhouse Jr. leading this race. He's a past winner here, 2 top 5 performances in the last 2 races he's been here. He's pretty good at these kind of places.
He is very good, and you know, Ricky Stenhouse has taken a lot of criticism.
He has this season,
and I got to tell you something. I happen to love what Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is doing this year, and he's not hiding from the fact that I'm here for my team. I'm here for me. I'm not here for anybody else. And I don't care who it affects. I'm going to race the same every time I do it. And he's held himself true to that. He's done the same thing. It doesn't matter who's around him, who's in front, who's behind him. He's going to do the same thing every time as we see him taking the lead. And, you know, Ricky is a good plate racer. Those Roush Fords have always got, and behind us, this will go ahead and give you a sign of the times. The 43 hauler of Bubba Wallace is rolling
leaving.
out right now. Thankfully, he didn't quite clip us or anything like that.
Yeah.
But he's leaving. In years past, that wouldn't have happened at Talladega. They added a new tunnel at Talladega, and that allows the teams that maybe fall out of the race to be able to leave before it's over, to get out of here, get a head start on getting home so they can go back and work on next week's equipment, unload the hauler a little bit earlier tomorrow, perhaps. But that did affect one thing on the racetrack also. There's a new set of ride height rules for these cars that allows them to have less suspension to the race cars, and have big pit stops happening, by the way, right now. This is obviously strategy play by the cars that are on pit road. It looks like a lot of Chevys I think, from what I could see when they they jumped onto pit road there. So this may be, we saw the Chevys work together yesterday, Friday in practice on getting on pit road together. We know that Chevy did not work together as good at Daytona as they wanted to. The Hendrick Chevy cars teamed up with the Toyotas. That was a very unique combination. And my understanding was Chevy wanted their cars to work better together this year. And we see right there, that's almost all 10 of the Chevrolets in the field on pit road together. So a very pointed effort by them. But back to what I was about to touch on the end of the back straightaway is where they put that tunnel in. But in order to put the tunnel in on the entrance to turn 3, they had to dig the racetrack up. So they dug the surface of the track up, and then they tried to put it back together as close as they could to what it was. But it did create some bumps, and turn 3 has always been a little bit rough anyways. It created some bumps, and we saw a few issues in practice as guys would try to push each other over those bumps, and that's the one thing we haven't seen a lot of yet today is guys getting together and staying connected for an entire straightaway. I think we're going to see that as we wind this race down just a little bit, but right about there, right there is where they patched that asphalt. You can see the dark spot on the bottom. They tore it all up, and that creates a little bit of an issue for the engineers to work around there.
Oh, I'm sure. There's a lot on all of their plates. And I want to check in briefly now with our social media expert, CJ Walliver. What do you got, CJ?
Thank you so much, Caitlin. And so to everyone else that's sending in comments, questions, trust me, I'm sifting through them. We're going to get some of the best ones up on screen for us. But this question actually comes from a guy that we all work with. Alan Cavana sent us in a question.
Yes.
Copacabana.
We can always count on Cavana.
Absolutely. He wants to know, for Regan, how tough is it to save gas while running almost wide open in a pack here at Talladega?
Good question.
Very good question, and it's something that's very difficult to do. So the best way when you're saving gas with a pack of race cars is to basically at least have one car in front of you. You need one car, if not more. The easiest place is with about 10 to 15 cars in front of you. What that allows you to do is it creates a vacuum. As the cars go through the air, it allows you, with a couple cars behind you and a couple cars in front of you, to lift off of the gas pedal, still run the same speed, because the air bubble that's created from the car behind you pushes you forward. The air bubble that is created from the cars in front of you takes that drag off of the front of your race car, almost like the wake of a boat. When you go through behind a boat, it's a lot smoother than if you're off on the side or out, outside of that wake. So as these guys are lined up right now, is for the people that are watching at home, they can lift off the gas pedal, be half throttle down the straightaway, and still go in the same speed as the cars in front. It's really weird feeling. It's kind of freaky. And plus, these engines, actually, with the EFI systems that are in them, and what that is, it's an electric fuel injection system. They can computerize them to where if you back off 90%, it might actually be saving more like 70% of fuel savings. So if we're on, let's say, a 1.5 mile racetrack where we can't, and we see a problem for Denny Hamlin. That's likely going to finish him off finally. I know they worked hard to get that car back out there, but that's probably his day.
That incident in stage 1, if you recall.
Unfortunate for our Daytona 500 champion this year, absolutely. But to finish the thought on the fuel thing, you can actually set them to where 90% is more like 60% throttle in terms of how much fuel they're burning. So if you're on a 1.5 mile racetrack, you can roll back to 90% throttle on the straightaway and be saving a lot more than what you actually think you are. It's just a way for the engine tuners to trick the drivers. I don't know how it all works. They used to tell me, back it to 90%. I'm like, I don't know what 90% is. Well, it's as educated as I can be for what I'm working with here.
And, of course, today being the 100th race here at Talladega, we have quite a few questions, too, that I want to send.
Does that mean it's the Centennial race?
It would. Yeah, absolutely. The Talladega Centennial.
We are breaking more barriers. We just created a new name for this race today.
I like it. We'll get on that branding.
We're going to have to call Russ and Brandon with the track real quick and let him know what he's going to have to call this in Victory Lane now.
50 years of racing, 100 Cup races here at Talladega. And one question I want to send out to the fans and to you guys, kind of a little trivia, was this place opened in 1969. That's 50 years. What makes Talladega so special?
Oh, wow. I mean, for me personally, I obviously I've never raced here, so I don't have the same experience as the two gentlemen on the show with me. But when you come in here, there's just something about the atmosphere and the vibe at this racetrack that just feels different than a lot of other places that we go. And it's just a great party. I mean, anyone will tell you this is one of the best races that come.
I mean, you had me at party.
It's a great race. It's an awesome atmosphere. The camping, the partying that takes place. It's a great hangout for a weekend, I think.
I agree with all those things. The atmosphere about it. You know, this racetrack was built on an old runway, basically, essentially a huge airport. I believe it was I don't know if it was an Air Force base or if it was an Army base, but it was built on a former military base. And through the center of it, for those who don't know, there's a runway, and that's what we call Talladega Boulevard. And this boulevard
is a wild place.
It's beyond wild. As a young kid, I think I got an education out there at times, but
what kind of education are we talking?
Well, I don't know if we're that type of a show or not. I do know that we're web-based, but we're going to leave it at that. It was essentially let's call it 100 feet wide, roughly. I mean, it's a pretty wide. It's basically like an airstrip at a big airport. Everybody's flown in and out of a big airport, and on either side of it, they park the campers up and down it. And people just walk this runway, and it's called Talladega Boulevard. And there's something about my first trip here. I walked down that boulevard. When it gets dark, it gets crazy. It's like the wildest nightclub you've ever been to in your life, mixed in with like
steroids.
Just you take every just sort of person you could ever imagine, and everybody just kind of. It's like a melting pot of everybody coming together and just having a great time. Many of which are camping here at the racetrack. Some are staying, maybe local hotels or something like that.
Right.
A huge camping racetrack. When you crest basically the hill to come into this racetrack in the mornings, there's this haze of fog above the track, and you don't know what it is until you pull up on it and you start smelling it.
It's the campfires.
And it's the campfire smoke because so many people just camp out here. This I think becomes the second largest or maybe third largest city in Alabama on race weekends. It's some ridiculous stat like that because there's so many people here camping out. They have a jail set up on the property. I mean, that should tell you a lot right now. If there's a jail set up on the property, you know some good stuff must be, or bad stuff, but mostly good stuff. Most of it involves alcohol at that point. So, all those things involved. And then the racetrack, and it just seems like we've had more incidents, and we got guys coming to pit road again. And for those that are watching on TV.
20 to go in the stage.
Another strategy play here, I'm going to say that this will get them to the end of the stage. I think the guys that already pitted should get them to the end of the stage as well.
So these guys are doing fuel only, it looks like.
Yeah, fuel only. And, I'll be curious as to who needs to take tires at the end of the stage. Ryan Blaney, my pick, he's got to be careful. You can't roll out of the pit box with that fuel can attached to that race car. That's a penalty if he does that. Fortunately, he didn't, so my fat head is still intact. I do have him here. He's not currently in my lap, but he is still close by. We're not going to forget about young Ryan Blaney over here.
We're not going to forget about you.
But back to the racetrack. And
well,
big
issues
problems
there for Boyer.
He's had enough issues today. I think that's just another one
just
to compound the problem.
List.
Yeah, he's Clint's dreaming about his beer when he gets home already. I can guarantee you that. He's just powering through this one.
Is this pretty tricky coming on a pit road here?
It is, and it's tricky more so because of the cars around you, and we see a lot of incidents happen. And this is the Toyota cars pitting now, so they're pitting together as well. Fuel only for them, but when you get your wheels straight on the straightaway, that's usually at this track your key that you can hit the brake pedal. But then you got to hit the brake pedal. You got to make sure your splitter doesn't hit the front of the racetrack, because if it does, it lifts your front tires off of the track, which then slides those tires. And if you flat spot the tire, which means you slide it and it smokes just a little bit, well, that flat spot's eventually going to blow out, and it's going to cause you a problem. And if you're doing fuel only, you're not changing tires when you hit your pit stall. So you got to communicate with your crew chief. If the whole field is doing fuel only, you don't want to lose the draft from those guys. So a very difficult pit road. And to finish up one last time on my thought with the racetrack in general, the partying's great. Everything is great, but on the racetrack, we have seen more wild stuff happen here than anywhere else that we go. For me personally, one of my first memories was Davey Allison getting his first win here, and I'm a huge Davey Allison fan.
With Larry McReynolds.
With Larry McReynolds, and he was an Alabama guy, and he was a rookie, came down here, won that race. That's when I knew I was in love with Talladega, right then.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's really not anything about this place that's not a positive, I feel like.
Absolutely, and the racing adds to that and adds to what we're seeing out there, and curious as to what they're showing
here with Eric.
This was him and Clint almost getting together, and that was Suarez, in our Coke Orange Vanilla race car right there.
Yep.
So very, very close call for Suarez, and you want to be careful. Teammates want to make sure that they communicate that and don't let that happen. Speaking of Coke Orange Vanilla,
It's time for one,
yeah,
isn't it?
It is time for one.
You got anything to mix that with, or are you just going to drink it straight?
I just drink it straight. It's
Okay.
good enough all
That's
by
good.
itself.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind rum in my drinks, but not today. We're busy here.
Speaking of orange, vanilla, Coca-Cola, and thank them once again for bringing us Hot Pass Hangout here at Talladega. One of the questions for the 100 that we're working on is who has the best paint scheme here today at Talladega? And I'm going to give my pick first is Daniel Suarez. That orange vanilla car looks sweet.
Tough to argue against that pick.
That's true.
You know,
Well, let's send it to Michael. I know he's out in the infield having fun. I think we should check in with him and see what he is up to as he is roving the infield here at Talladega. There he is.
Talladega, fun times. How's it going? Pulling for Chase Elliott?
Georgia.
Got his car fixed. I think he's still in it.
Yep.
So this is a lot of fun.
Can I have a picture with you?
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Nice to see you. So this is a lot of fun. We're down in the infield right off turn 4. You can hear the cars screaming by. Everybody's having a good time. A little beer chugging up on top. All the campers come here. You can see not only they're having a good time up on the bus, they got their smoker down here doing a lot of barbecuing. You never know who's going to come by. I like to come down and visit the people. How's it going? I got to get out of the way. How you doing? You having a good time?
Having a great time, brother. Yourself?
Yeah, having a great time. Thanks for coming out to NASCAR.
Oh, yeah, I'm here. My wife, my mother-in-law, we're just here watching the race.
Let's go say hi to them.
Say hi to them.
Hey. Hi, wife. Michael Waltrip.
Donna Shepard.
Nice to meet y'all. Appreciate you coming out to the race.
Oh, we enjoy it. They bring me with them.
Have a good time. Thank you. So there's so much going on down here. The cars are loud, but what I love about Talladega, they leave for about 40 seconds, and then you can actually talk to people. So how y'all doing? Michael, I'm doing a little special on caffeine. We're streaming all over the internet. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Fox Sports Go.
I just figured we have some monster guests that are here.
Oh, nice to meet you, monster guest. Line up and we'll take a good picture together. All right, that's no problem. Smile. You're on Fox Sports. Cheers. Thank you. How's it going? Yeah, you can get a picture. But this is what happens. It's a community that breaks out down here. So much fun to see the fans enjoying themselves, doing the racing thing. I'm gonna come up. I'm gonna come up on top and say hi to these folks, if I can do it without falling down. Got it. Hey, will you hold my microphone? Don't say anything bad though, because I'm on TV.
Got it. Like you're good looking and all that stuff?
Yeah, you can say that.
Nothing bad.
Hey y'all, I made it up here. Such a great atmosphere. I mean, I love the camera view of not only the race cars going by, but just how massive this place is. Look at all these people.
Oh, it's awesome. This is our first time at Dega. Been watching for 30 years and first time to come here.
Awesome. You rented a camper and came on out?
No, it's theirs.
We own them.
That's awesome. How you doing, buddy?
Feel good.
Denny Hamlin was in that early crash. He's got some damage, but I think he's still, he's out.
I missed that.
But he was still hanging in there.
Yeah, hopefully.
Right on. Where y'all from?
It's about 20 miles east of St. Louis.
Illinois. St. Jacob, Illinois here in the house. Here they come. Woo! Here comes the NASCARs, y'all. Let's crank it up. How cool is this? I love this view. My first time, here you go, got a smile. Move your finger. My first time racing here, guys, 1986. My first win here came in 2003, and I never will forget coming through 3 and 4, battling with Dale Jr. Jeff Gordon on the high side was able to block them off and get back to the checker first and win. And when I hear these cars come pounding through this corner, knowing everything I know about what they're thinking, what's going through their minds, they're preparing for the end. Here they come. So right now, they're just trying things, working out different moves, lifting off the gas to get a run on other drivers, just trying to figure out what it might be like. Who's everybody pulling for? You like Truex, huh?
Like Truex, Martin Truex Jr.
Right on. He's a good dude. He used to drive for me. I used to be his boss. Right on.
I've been watching all the documentary about you on TV about where you started the race shops and all that stuff.
Right on.
Been watching all those episodes lately. Cool.
Well, I know it's quite the commitment to leave Illinois, bring a couple campers, and come to Talladega, and I just want to say thank you for being fans.
No problem. Thank you for being such a good.
You do.
I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Now, I'm going to try to get off this camper. Without busting my butt.
You and your brother are two of my favorites. Take that one.
We're taking photos. I'll be right down. Whoa, go Truex!
I got you. Like I said, you guys are my favorite. I got to shake your brother's hand Friday night.
Oh, on the boulevard?
Yep. Yeah, right before he got in the truck.
How many of y'all stayed on the boulevard a little longer than you wish you had of?
I did.
Got one in the back. We always do. Love it. Enjoy Talladega. Thanks for coming. I'm going to hop down. Guys, Caitlin, Regan, there's so much to see down here. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Caitlin, start your watch. Start your watch, and in 10 minutes, I'm going to give you another report from another part of this glorious, wonderful, beautiful infield. Shake and bake, baby. Back to you, Caitlin.
Shake and bake.
Shake and bake. You had to put the, Talladega Nights quote in there at some point. We had to.
Only Mikey would pull that
Only
off
Mikey.
out there.
I know.
And look at the good time that they were having out there on the racetrack.
Absolutely.
And that's the beauty of this place. It is a week-long party the whole time you're there. Another one of the haulers leaving.
It is. Matt Tips
We are
behind
set
us
up,
cruising out.
You know what? Our producers did a phenomenal job of setting us up right where all the action happens.
They did.
And we know when the guys are coming, when they're going, and on the racetrack, it looks like there was a little problem there for Paul Menard just a moment ago as we get down to the end of this stage.
Yes. 10 to go, I think, in the stage, maybe less.
10 to go, and Chase Elliott.
Yeah, what
the race?
What do you make of his season so far this year? I mean, obviously last year was a breakout year for him.
Well, we see 3 Hendrick cars, first, second, and third. The fourth car, Jimmy Johnson, having trouble early on, and I don't know if he's officially listed as out of the race. I believe he is at this point, or multiple laps down if he's
10
not
laps
listed
down,
out. Can't
it
quite
says,
see our
for
monitor,
48.
but yeah, 10 laps down, so he's basically out of the race. But Hendrick needed a day like this. They needed a day where they could get all their cars to the front of the pack, where they could build some confidence for their young drivers. You got William Byron in third. You've got Alex Bowman in second. These are guys that haven't had much good happen this year.
Yeah.
And the one thing I can say is Chase Elliott has been the guy that's kind of been carrying the banner for that company, and he's been the one guy you can count on to go out and win a race.
Which is surprising when you have Jimmy Johnson there.
It is,
obviously.
and Jimmy, in the slump that he's been in, it's been a challenge for that team. A lot of changes. Some of us thought we'd never see the day when him and Chad Knaus weren't together, and that happens, that takes place. But a day like today, and I know it's a super speedway, and I know they were fast at Daytona as well, but what a day like today does is it builds confidence, and it's not going to change how fast or slow their cars might or might not be when they get to Dover next week, but it's going to build confidence in those drivers, and that confidence and that momentum carries over, and you carry that with you to the next racetrack, and just the way that you walk into the garage, the way that you carry yourself when you're at the racetrack, the way you communicate with your team. You wake up a little bit earlier to go into the garage. You're a little more excited about going to the garage. When you struggle like they've struggled this year, it can really beat you down, and it can emotionally mess with what you've got going on. So not to mention, if Chase Elliott wins at Talladega, not far from Dawsonville, woo, look out.
It will be a party, that is for sure. But yeah, Michael was talking about this earlier too, just celebrating those small victories as they come, getting a stage win, leading a lot of laps in a particular event. I mean, I've been over at that shop quite a few times this year talking to the crew chiefs and the drivers and things like that, and I think they do feel like things have not been progressing necessarily the way they would have hoped. But it's kind of been like that for a couple of years now, I would say.
Yeah, and
with the exception of Chase's success last season.
It's almost like something just fundamentally changed over there, from what you can tell. And let's face it, they lose Jeff Gordon. That's a veteran that can really help build teams and can help develop race cars. Dale Earnhardt Jr., the most popular driver and a guy that can bring a lot to the table in terms of partners and things like that. So you go through a tough couple years there as you're cycling through people and transitioning people in and out of things, and that can make things difficult for the company and for the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. But the good news is right now Chase Elliott is leading the race. But let's check in with CJ, our social media expert. What do you got going on, CJ?
All right, so I just want to remind everyone, wherever you're watching this, no matter if you're watching it on Caffeine, if you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, I want you to share this broadcast. Tweet the link. Hit the share button on Facebook. After the broadcast is over today, before I hit the road and drive back to Charlotte, a lot of this equipment came down in my car, but before I head back to Charlotte, I'm going to pick a winner, and one person is going to get this really sweet Coca-Cola hat that I've been wearing the last couple of days, signed by Daniel Suarez. Well, no, it's been a part of the action here at Talladega. I've been a lot of fun places, on the boulevard. I've been in the garage. So I'll send you my hat with Daniel Suarez's autograph on it. All you got to do is share Hot Pass Hangout, brought to you by Coca-Cola Orange Vanilla. So we do have a question. I like this one. It came in from Dylan, and Dylan wants to know, how important are fresh tires at Talladega, Regan?
Okay.
Fresh tires. I mean,
tires. They're important everywhere usually, right?
Yeah, who doesn't want fresh tires, right? I think today is one of the few days, though, to where fresh tires are not going to matter as much. These race cars have a lot of downforce built into them right now. And what that downforce does is it masks a lot of problems that you might otherwise have. This is a very smooth racetrack. It hasn't weathered a ton. It's gotten gray, but it hasn't got a lot of bumps, and it doesn't have a lot of like the graininess like sometimes we've seen at Daytona and other places like that in the surface. So the surface is still very smooth, which allows the tires to still look extremely fresh. And I know at some point we're going to make some more trips out to pit road. We'll check some of those old tires as they come off of the race cars and show you the new one compared to the old one. And not only the wear, but the fact that they have so much tread left on them that it doesn't make a huge deal other than getting that warm tire off of the car that maybe can slip and slide a little bit more, but you're only talking an advantage for maybe 3-4 laps. It's not a huge advantage for a long time in today's current rules and settings. Had this been last year's rules, I would say a little more of an advantage because you can be more aggressive with the car. You can make moves from the top to the bottom a little more aggressively, but with this particular set of rules, not quite as much of an advantage.
And now in that first stage, we saw an early incident. This one has been very calm and tame.
Well, until right now, because we're on the last lap here.
We're on the last lap here. Obviously, Chase Elliott leading the charge. His teammate Alex Bowman behind him, William Byron as well.
Anybody happen to see who's coming up on the outside there? I don't want to point it out.
And Kyle Larson also is kind of in the mix there.
He's in the mix, but he's not as far up as young Ryan Blaney is right now.
And my guy's all the way down in 12th. Brad Keselowski, come on.
Phone it in. Tell Brad to step it up just a little bit.
Step it up, man.
Man, Chase Elliott looking like he's going to collect his first playoff points of the year. A nice little bonus for him.
Nice bonus.
It's always good
for
to get
Chase
that playoff.
Elliott.
Now you see him.
You hear the crowd cheering.
And you see him reaching up on the broadcast. He's reaching up to the dashboard of the race car. What he's doing right now, as soon as he crossed that line and knew the stage was over, he shut the motor off.
Okay.
He pushed the clutch in. He put the race car in neutral. He's going to coast as far as he can around that racetrack. So if he can coast all the way to turn 3, he can radio back to his crew chief. And the crew chief is watching. They've got telemetry on the pit boxes that allows them to watch what's going on with his throttle and with his brake trace. They'll watch precisely how far he's coasted for till he gets back on the throttle.
Okay.
And then when he gets back on the throttle, they know he saved us exactly 1/2 of a lap of fuel in that window right there. And they're calculating that every time that he lifts off that gas, that he shuts that motor off, they're calculating that on the pit box. That's going to be critical at the end of this race. Chad Canals was on Race Hub with us last week.
Yes, I saw that.
And Chad predicted that this would turn into a fuel mileage race. Chad, of course, his car running in somewhere in the top.
Guy, you know.
He is pretty smart. He's got a few of these wins over the years. But his car running in 3rd place right now. He called this, and we see the drivers already doing what he anticipated would happen, and they were prepping. He wouldn't fully clue me in. I kept prodding him a little bit, like, "Come on, Chad, this is we're not going to break the news. We're just going to talk about it at some point." And he wouldn't fully clue me in as to what his thoughts were, but I know they were working on stuff to make sure they got that good fuel mileage with those race cars.
Ah, very interesting insight there from old C. Knaus. But yeah, so stage 2 is just complete. One more stage to go. What do you think that this? I know we've been seeing a lot of aggressiveness out of these drivers from the get-go, but do you anticipate this is where things really start to ratchet up because it's go time, right?
The gloves come off right here, and this is where guys get wild. So the green flag will drop for this next stage. The brains will go out the window if they haven't already, which you can argue with race car drivers that they weren't there in the first place. And we're all
I wasn't going to say that.
Oh, I'll say it. I used to turn the motor on, and I'd forget who I was. You know, it's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I'd like to believe I was a relatively tame person until that race car fired up, and all of a sudden I became this just vicious, vulgar,
competitive spirit comes out,
I said
right?
a lot of things I didn't want my mom to hear on that radio.
Fair
I
enough.
can assure you of that.
You were on
many of these
Radioactive.
guys. Radioactive didn't exist when I was doing the majority of my cup racing. I'm thankful for that. I had a number of car owners threaten to cut my radio off
You
over
were
the
like
years.
the most even-keeled person. It's hard for me to envision that.
I've changed,
but I know
Caitlin.
you
out
have
of the
gotten
race
some
car.
fights.
I've changed. I had to chill out a little bit. You know, I had kids too.
You have children.
I
Yeah,
had
that
children.
changes
That's
things,
right. I don't want to. Well, I'm
keep
going to
it
leave it
tame,
at that. Yeah. But it's in terms of the racing, it's going to pick up. It's going to get crazier. I know me coming into the day, I felt like we'd see a relatively clean race until about lap 120 to 130 roughly. Then you start trying to position yourself for that final run of the race, and that's when it gets a little bit crazy, a little bit wild, and you have to worry about what the guys around you do, how big the moves are that they make, and how they're going to make those moves.
It's going to be exciting to watch. But I feel like this race has been moving along pretty quickly. You never know when you come here. It could be 6 hours. It could be 4 hours.
It has
Just
been.
depends.
And, you know, when we look at the speeds, I know it's only a second a lap, but the
Yeah.
speeds that we are turning that much quicker, they add up after after a good amount of time, and 200 miles an hour plus still in a number of instances on the racetrack here.
Yeah. Well, I know we talked to Michael earlier. Obviously, he was out roving the infield, and he said that he wanted us to check back in with him when.
I just want to give you a heads up. Definitely, Michael. Yeah, no worries.
Hey, we found another spot in the infield I wanted to show y'all. I really appreciate you guys giving tribute to my brother, thanking him for the memories. Boogity, boogity, boogity's on the back straightaway here. You guys saying hello, giving my brother a shout out. Thank you so much for that. How you been? How long you been coming to Talladega?
Actually, we started in '85. We come twice a year.
I started in '86. My first race was the '86 race in the spring. Qualified at 203 miles an hour, some sort of stuff, in an old Pontiac, and it looked like I was riding on a paint can. We didn't have much of an interior in those things, but you've been here ever since, huh?
Yes, sir. Twice a year.
And you were telling me just now, 20-some years ago, we shared a moment together.
Absolutely. We was in the bathroom over on pit road, and Michael.
Now don't cut there. Don't cut there. There's more to this story, I promise.
Michael tried to help me find my contact. We were unsuccessful, but I appreciate his help.
Well, I appreciate all y'all coming out to NASCAR. I'm on Talladega Boulevard during the daytime, and I'm not sure there's ever been a picture made on Talladega Boulevard during the daytime. Most all that stuff happens at night. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, Michael. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Yeah, we already took a picture of it and said thank you to you fellers.
Thank you, Dale, very much. I've been coming for 44 years, and I give anything to have your wife right there.
Well, 44 years you've been. Wow. 48, because this is the 100th.
This is 50th.
50th year, 100th race at Talladega, and you've seen 96.
I've seen them all.
That's awesome. Thank you for being a NASCAR fan.
I'm a NASCAR fan. Right here, love them, and these are my friends. All these people on Talladega Boulevard are my friends.
That's awesome. Well, let me sign your hat, and we're gonna. Hey, and old Ty Dillon, he won stage 1 in the Geico car. It's the Geico 500. Maybe he gets the victory. Well, Ty might give you $100. I ain't got $100. I don't know if you know this or not, but I spent all my money on race cars and women, and then I just wasted the rest. Yeah, I got to ride down the boulevard. I'm gonna show everybody at home the boulevard, and I'll ride back by and collect my money. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate y'all. Where's your school bus? Well, heck, I'll sign. Us. All Shucks Oyster Bar. I've been there. Let me give me a second here. I'm going to run sign his school bus, and then I'm going to take y'all on down the boulevard and show you some of the unique campsites that we have here. So, guys over there, Regan, Caitlin, stay with me. Let me have this for a bit. I know we're at stage break, so not a lot's happening on the track. The teams are getting ready for the run to the checker. So I'm going to come over here and sign this school bus. Hey, man, how are y'all? Good to see you. This school bus has been modified. Yeah, it's got a camper, got a place to sleep. You got a pen? You want me to sign it inside? Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm gonna go in and sign this bus. If I don't come back out, please come in and get me. I really need you to. Hey, look, we got one rule in here, and I think this is a solid rule. You can't be drunk and get on this bus. All right, here I go. He said it's the only rule, and ain't nobody paid any attention to it yet. All right, let me sign this. I want to sign it right here above Austin Dillon. I appreciate y'all coming out to the races. This is awesome. Oh, yes, sir. We're streaming live on Caffeine. It's a live stream, and we're on Facebook and Twitter, and so maybe your friends will see you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Appreciate you. Go Clint Boyer.
Yes, sir.
All right.
He just committed a safety violation.
Yeah, is he drunk?
No, hold on, he needs one.
Oh, no, I can't drink. It's not allowed.
You tell Daryl that Daryl, Michael, just as good as you are, and I wish you come in and see us just like he did. Thank you very much, Michael.
Love you, brother. Thank you for all you do. That's awesome. I really appreciate the fans. Thank you so much. Appreciate seeing you. I stole this pen. Will you? Yeah, give it back. Hey, dear. How are y'all? All right, we're going to make our way on down the boulevard. Caitlin, Regan. Hey, who y'all pulling for? I got Kyle Larson. I really got Kyle Larson. He's right here. All right, see y'all later. Come on, Kyle. See y'all later. Come on, Kyle. All right. I thought somebody took our keys. So we're cruising the boulevard. Some of the sponsor folk out here. This is a nice bar. Hello, sir. I like your, oh man, smells great. I like your bar. Let me have one of those. I'm going to have that later. That looks so appetizing. Man. Where y'all from? Everywhere. How'd you tow all this stuff in here? Yeah. Well, I think it's awesome y'all are here. Thank you. We're on Facebook on Caffeine, so if any of you aren't supposed to be here, please turn around. Please turn around somewhere else. Yeah. All right, thank y'all so much. I'm going to take this lobster with me. It's kind of hard to steer with the lobster. Okay, bye, dear. So you see a lot of cornhole games. You just see, this is a community. I'm going to use this as like our hood ornament. There we go. Look at that feller. You see so many families, friends. What about the guy that has been here for 48 years? That is incredible, and just so thankful to be able to say hello to Daryl. That meant a lot to me. So these people here have built looks like a Christmas tree, and there's old Denny Hamlin. Hey man, how are y'all? Some of the experiences that are had here are talked about late at night. You know, craziness. Hello, brother. But what I love is seeing just good folk enjoying company of their friends. Hey, how's it going? Where'd y'all get that bride at? So many people just enjoying a day at the races. This is what it's all about. If you haven't been to NASCAR, you really need to come out and see it from the inside and out, because it's quite the experience. How you doing, brother?
Maybe not too close.
Oh, wait a minute. Got to get over this way. That's the crapper truck. I mean, we are digging all the way into the details. You got to have that stuff. Yep. What do you think it's going to do? Just go away? It ain't going to decompose in a weekend. I can promise you that. So I'm going to throw it back over to the garage area, and we're going to get ready to race to the checkered flag. Stage 2's over. It's time to regroup and get ready to see who's going to win the Geico 500. And Regan, Caitlin, I'll be there in about 15 minutes. I hope.
Perfect.
Well,
we will be timing him 15 minutes.
I hope Michael is nice enough to make sure whatever the beverages are
I
that he
know,
was
that
getting
he's
passed out at different times there, and the lobster and everything
bringing
else.
back for us.
Bring some back for your co-host.
Yeah,
Come on,
absolutely.
Mikey. Don't leave
let
us hanging.
down.
I got a little nervous the very first interview you did right there on that segment, and the very first fan he was talking about took it right to the bathroom almost immediately. And any story of somebody in the bathroom with Mikey, I'm like, oh boy, where's this going? So I'm glad he cut that off immediately. I'm sure there's young ears, but fortunately for us, he got this back to us right in time to start this second stage. And these guys are getting ready to go green. And as we've talked about, this is the moment where business picks up and guys get a little bit wilder. And all of our cars are still up there. Look at, I see Kyle Larson now moving to the front. So we've got some good picks today. This is a professional broadcast right here.
Look at us.
And we pretty much, I did a lot of homework before I made my pick, as did you and Michael, evidently.
Absolutely. And I don't know if CJ did his homework, but I know I'm supposed to be checking in with him, our resident social media expert. What's going on, CJ?
Oh, absolutely. So we did want to give a quick update about the Coca-Cola Racing family of drivers, how they're doing here at Talladega today. And, of course, unfortunately, two of them already headed home, as right now we have Denny Hamlin and Bubba Wallace. They are out of the race. Right now, Joey Logano leading the charge. He is currently third here at Talladega. And then taking a look at, he's not. My leaderboard did not update. Sorry about that.
He is 13th.
Don't know why my scoring is completely off now. So I did do my homework. Let's check this out. As we scroll through, Larson right now leading the charge. He is third out on track. Austin Dillon right now running in 7th. So we'll wait and see the leaderboard coming back here in
I'll
just
defend
a
my
second.
man CJ just
There
a
we
little
go.
bit. The board's having a difficult time updating for us right now. And it's actually cutting, the positions are being cut off of it right now. We can see the order they're running in, but you got to count up each of the cars. So I know CJ doesn't have his shoes off and socks off, so it's a tough time for him to get to 20, but we'll defend him a little bit on
All
this
right,
one.
so I think now I can see the board. We can do this. Taking a look at your Coca-Cola Racing family leaderboard right now, Kyle Larson leading the charge. He is in third. And then we have Austin Dillon. He is also running inside the top 10 right now. Nope, it cut that off too, so no positions. I apologize, guys. I will get an update.
6th.
Austin Dillon right now in 6th. There we go.
Joey Logano in 12th.
All right, and they're cutting them off for us again.
Well,
Suarez right
the other
now
thing you have
running
to
in
remember,
19th.
when we are at a speedway race, the scoring monitor updates frequently. And it's a nonstop adjustment. Every time they cross the start-finish line, the official scoring position changes. But as well as on the racetrack, the scoring position changes as they're running. And I'm looking at the monitor in terms of our race broadcast on Fox. We're seeing speeds right now today that we have not seen all day. I just saw some 202, 203, 204. Some big numbers popping up on the board right there as we go through all this. And we mentioned that guys were really going to start to show their hand and see what they had right now. That's exactly what's taking place. And a big moment on that restart, Kyle Busch, and I believe he's taken and dropped to the back just a little bit since this happened. He got a little bit of a shove from behind in the middle of turns 3 and 4. That car jumped sideways in the front of the field. And he had one of those moments where he's pitting for 4 tires and perhaps a new clean pair of underwear after that just took place.
Well, you were talking about the speeds. We see Chase Elliott, our leader, running 202 right now. I've done a driving experience at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I did 125, and I thought that was fast. And that's really pathetic.
How cool is that about our sport? But how cool is that you can go hop in the car for the driving? And I remember when you did this. This was on Race Hub.
It was not a proud moment for me.
I thought you won that. You didn't win that?
Oh, gosh.
Maybe you were a little bit off the pace. Well, I was going to sell it that you won it. We should have just gone with that. And we were going to talk about your driving abilities, Caitlin. But when you guys did that, how cool is that about our sport? And I don't know that I can't ever go experience what it's like to jump off the ground and dunk a basketball. I physically can't do it. It's not going to happen.
Right.
But the great part about NASCAR is people can go hop in a race car with these driving experiences, and they can experience what it's like to go 130, 140, 150 miles an hour, sometimes even faster than that, depending on where they are. And that really allows you to relate to what a race car driver is doing. And I'll be honest, when I'm when I'm sitting in traffic, I live in Charlotte, obviously, right now.
So you sit in a lot of traffic.
Yeah, I do sit in a lot of traffic. But whether it's Charlotte or New York or L.A., we go to L.A. quite frequently.
Yeah.
When you're sitting there 3 and 4 wide in traffic on some of these big interstates, and you look and you figure, you know what? I'm putting around at 10 miles an hour. Man, the race car drivers are doing it this 200 miles an hour.
200 miles an hour.
You can really associate what it feels like to be out in the pack like this. And I don't know that there's any other sport that you can do that. If I go get hit by a football player, it's going to be lights out for me for at least 6 to 8 months. Like, I'm going to break every bone in my body. But the race car, you can go out and do that. And a lot of fans have experienced that, as you have. And that was a very impressive piece that you guys did on the Race Hub. I know I thoroughly enjoyed that. I was pulling for you, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad someone was. So we've been talking about the speeds of these cars, and I know we mentioned it way earlier in the broadcast, but in case people are just now joining us, there was a lot of anticipation going into this particular event because of the aero package, the changes that we were seeing to these cars that they never had before. Walk us through what some of those changes were.
Well, I think the biggest, most obvious one is going to be on the spoiler, the back spoiler of the race car, and the spoiler is essentially 9 inches tall. And when they made that spoiler as big as they did, they had to cut a clear opening in it. So they cut this big clear opening in the spoiler, so it's 9 inches all the way across the back of the car. But in the center section, and these guys are getting very dicey right now, we're seeing a lot of movement on the straightaways out of the cars. But when they cut that spoiler down, it's basically across the center 4 inches to the outside 2 edges, and then it goes back up, and it's metal in those areas. The center section is a clear strip of plastic that allows the drivers to be able to see out the rearview mirrors. We got down here for the race. The cars were going too fast. NASCAR said, whoa, we're going to make an adjustment to what's on here. And they put a wicker across the back. Now, what a wicker is, it's a piece of metal that's bent 90 degrees, and they bolt it onto that spoiler. So if you've got a flat spoiler and then you have a 90-degree piece on the top of that spoiler, it creates a bigger hole in the air. It slows the cars down just a little bit more, but by creating that hole in the air, it allows the cars to draft up to each other, to catch each other quicker. We could see somebody a half a straightaway behind actually catch the field because of the air that's being disrupted as they go through it, and the hole that's being punched in it. And it's unique from what we've had in past trips down here, because it used to be a little bit more of a precise technique in terms of staying with the draft, not losing the draft, keeping up with them.
Yes.
The other big part was what we did with the motors, and what they did with what was used to be called the restrictor plates. They had these plates that sat across the top of the motor, and it essentially restricted airflow into the motor. And in order for a motor to work properly, you've got to have airflow to create oxygen, to do all the other cool stuff. Way over my head. I'm a driver. I'm not that technical. But
I mean, you're pretty dang sharp, I got to say.
Just enough to buffalo myself along here, basically. But what they've done is they took that plate off, and instead they put a spacer that slowly tapers down. It's got more, because of the big spoiler, it's got more horsepower with that. And it allows the drivers to do stuff in the car that they've never done before with the throttle. They can lift off the throttle, get back on it, and it's still going to respond. Used to be, if you lifted off the throttle at a restrictor plate track, you were going to lose 20 spots because you were just going to be basically out there waiting for your car to recover. Your car wouldn't recover. So they've changed a lot of things. It's just creating more passing and a lot of excitement for these race cars.
You've been out here all weekend, obviously, covering the racing action. What has been some of the drivers' reaction to this aero package? Do they like it? Have they been pleased with what they've experienced?
Well, I think it's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
You know, when we go to these big racetracks like this, you always have a lot of different opinions about what they think of this speedway racing.
Some are more vocal than others.
Some love it, some hate it. I think for the most part, the drivers have enjoyed the new challenge that comes with it. The main thing that I gathered from everybody I talked to is that feeling of nervousness, just because it's something that they hadn't done before. And trying to see what was going to take place with that. And again, this is the build-up in the race that we've discussed all day, that as they're learning that, they are trying to slowly understand the cars and get to the point where they know exactly what to expect out of them. Now they're getting more comfortable. Now it's a more normal race for them. Now we get brave. Now all of a sudden,
now we get brave.
You basically set them on the dashboard and go.
People become heroes. Someone was thanking you for the insight, by the way, on the engines. We saw that comment coming up on social media.
Well, we appreciate that.
Great work by you, Regan. And now, speaking of great work, let's check back in with our social media expert, CJ.
Thank you. And so I made some repairs on my leaderboard, and we have rejoined the field.
Thank goodness.
Here today. Yeah, no, I know, right? So for the Coca-Cola Racing family update, we'll go through the leaderboard real quick. Kyle Larson leading the charge right now in third. Austin Dillon, he is sixth. We've got Joey Logano. He's right now just outside the top 10 in 13th. Daniel Suarez in the orange vanilla Coca-Cola car is 23rd. We have Ryan Newman right behind him in 24th. And then, of course, Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace, they're doing pretty good with an early flight home. They're not in the race right now today. But we've got Kyle Larson in third, leading the charge. That's the Coca-Cola Orange Vanilla Racing family of drivers here at Talladega. See, I do all right when my leaderboard's up.
You do.
See?
Yeah, when they're working.
Way to totally redeem yourself,
Totally.
CJ.
I am back on the lead lap,
That's
my
right.
friend. Got my lap back. I'm all good now.
Speaking of the lead lap, all of our picks are in the top 10 right now, with mine just moving up one spot, 8th, Keselowski. Ryan Blaney, Regan's choice, 7th. Kyle Larson was Michael's pick. He is currently running 3rd. And it has been a rough season for him. I know Mikey touched on it a little bit earlier. Just not the luck he had hoped for. And the last race we were at, Richmond Raceway, you could hear the dejection on the radio when Kyle Larson just came on and said, "Oh, this is so fun." Obviously, for those of us who know him, he has a very dry sense of humor. Obviously sarcastic there, saying, this is not the way we wanted this to go.
You know, they wanted him to come down pit road to get that car looked at, and
didn't get clearance.
Larson decided that I'm
Right?
just going to go ahead and take it to the garage. I've had enough of this today. I am all done with this one right now. I'm completely over this.
Speaking of Kyle Larson, I see his face that's...
Or I'm sorry, I took that a different way. We weren't talking about Larson, were we?
We were.
Oh, we were. I thought so.
Oh, my God. Why would
Looks
you ever
quite
do that to
scrumptious.
me?
Is this a lobster or a crawfish?
We're trying to not have me, say a profanity on here, and that was almost a close call.
Mikey, did you try any of this?
I wanted to. I didn't. I wanted to try it, but I didn't really know how to get into it.
Here.
That's not a New York thing.
There's a claw for you.
Let's
I'll
try
take
it.
the claw with you. We'll see.
Kaylin,
what we
you
got.
want some?
I'm good.
Ah!
Thank
You can have the
though.
You want the tail?
This
I think
makes
the
me
tail
think
is
of
the
New
important
Hampshire.
part. It does look. It's a miniature New
it's a
Hampshire
miniature
version here.
Yeah,
New
I don't think I'm
Hampshire
gonna do
Plowman
that.
trophy.
Yeah.
How was that,
seafood?
Mikey?
You got to be careful with seafood sometimes.
It was so fun. I just think that people sometimes. My hair is kind of a mess. I think that people sometimes have a misconception of what the infield might be like. You know,
Really?
You hear a lot of crazy stories about what goes on at night. But my favorite thing is every time I've ever gone out there, I find families and friends that have been
Yes.
together ever. And I don't know if y'all heard, that gentleman had been here for 48 years. He only
That's
missed 2 races. That's crazy that he's been here that long, and just the fellowship, just enjoying time together. And
Yeah.
what
family
y'all been doing?
atmosphere.
You got any polls going? How?
We've been here
Well, CJ
obviously watching the final stage. Chase Elliott's been leading the charge since you left.
Yeah,
You know,
what
the
we talked
Chevys-
about earlier.
But
The
your
Chevys have
driver's
been-
third, Kyle Larson, your pick.
Love it.
The Chevys have been surprisingly strong, Mikey. Since you left, they really they had some
Business
good
has
pit
picked up,
sequence. They were able to put themselves in position with the pit stops the way they did it. And, we talked about Daytona, how the Hendrick Chevys and the Toyotas had teamed up at Daytona, and that was very unique. Well, this race was completely different. All the Chevys pitted together and said, you know what, we're going to make an effort to keep our cars to the front as best as we can. That's exactly what they did. And when they did that, all 10 Chevrolet cars came down pit road at the same time. They were able to leapfrog the field, and most of them have remained up there. The one thing we have yet to see, though, is a lot of that pushing and bump drafting that we thought about that could be a problem for the Chevys when it gets down to the end.
You know what that says, Regan, to me? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you.
That's right.
Yes,
Gomer
the
Powell
classic
made
line.
that statement popular back in the 70s. And what he meant was, if you don't learn from what you did in the past, then you're not very smart. And I think everybody saw, we got caution on
It's
the
awful
speedway.
quiet.
Quiet all of
Yeah.
a sudden, yeah.
So I think everybody learned from how well Ford worked together and Toyota's plan, and Chevy. Obviously, a lot of smart people worked in the Chevy camp, and they came up with their own plan, and it looks like they've maybe one-upped everybody a little bit. What do you say?
I have to wonder if they didn't say, we've got 10 cars on the racetrack here. Why don't they just work together? That seems like a really good idea to me.
Reasonable.
Well, things are going to heat up, and we know, we saw it 10 laps into the race, that the difficulty with the front bumper on the Chevrolet is certainly going to be a challenge, and they will start pushing and shoving. What will happen then? Are the Chevys going to be able to push? I don't think very well, A, and then B, can the Fords do what we've seen them do so much in the past, and that is with those really flat noses on the Mustang, be able to shove each other forward. And we haven't heard a lot out of the Toyotas. I know Denny got crashed, and Martin Truex has been up front and had some issues, but will the Toyotas come forward?
Well, and literally as you were walking up here, we saw the 12 of Ryan Blaney and the 2 of Brad Keselowski. They were doing some pretty serious bump draft and trying to help each other out. They didn't really make it forward as much as I thought, though. They kind of lost the pack to the outside just a little bit. It didn't do as much as we might have anticipated for them. So a lot of questions to be answered here very, very soon. The other thing that I thought was really cool, when we all sat up and said, hey, there's a caution, something must have just happened or what's taking place, that it got so quiet, not only because the drivers lifted off of the gas pedal, but as we mentioned earlier in the show, they shut the motors off almost in sequence. And when they shut the motors off almost in sequence, the only noise you can hear is actually the wind coming off the car. So as they came through behind us, you could hear the wind from the spoilers, but that was all you could hear. It's always so very, very unique to see that take place.
And
Or
Bob-
hear that.
Bob
Hear that. We don't see that. We hear that take place.
Bob Pockris, our Fox Sports Inside reporter, has told
There
me
he goes
that-
behind us. Hey, Bob. Look,
there
goes Bob.
There's debris on the racetrack.
Debris on the racetrack. You know, Bob, one of the we mentioned earlier, the best in the business, and I think Bob's going to sit down and perhaps get ready to join us here in just a second. And you know, it'll be really, really nice to hear Bob's take on.
It's always nice to hear
well,
from
what
Bob,
what he's been seeing as the day goes on. Bob, can you hear us? Bob can hear us now.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Hey, a fun race so far, and really a lot going on. A lot of different strategies. They're getting ready to hit pit road. I don't think this will be their last pit stop. I think they're going to have to make one more after this. But what are you hearing and seeing as you've been moseying through the garage and through the infield?
Right, yeah, they'll have to make one more pit stop if they pit now. There were some guys like Ty Dillon that when he pitted between stages, they were like, we're packing it with fuel and start saving fuel. It sounded like they were thinking if it went green the whole way, they may end up just pitting once. You know, it's right, 75 miles of green, or 75 laps of green flag run would just be about what your fuel window is. But when Kyle Busch, you saw him get loose after getting tagged by Brad Keselowski.
He put the parachute out and went to the back. We talked about that on the show here, how quick he went to the back.
And he said their adjustment didn't work, and they said, well, we have 2 stops to work on it. So they were definitely thinking 2 more stops before this debris, which may have come from Austin Dillon's car. You saw him drop to the back. They think they had some bare bond, I think, in the back of the car from repairs, and they think that might have come off, and Austin actually thought he had a flat for a moment.
Oh, wow. So a good break for Austin that the debris that came off of his race car brought the caution out that perhaps allowed them to get that tire changed on his race car.
And earlier at the end of the first stage, we had kind of talked about biggest surprises so far in this race. Michael mentioned, obviously, Ty Dillon getting the stage win. What's stood out to you maybe so far as one of the surprises?
Well, I've been surprised on how the outside line hasn't, every time they try to get a run, it seems like they can't make it to the front. You saw Ryan Blaney; he was about 6th or 7th in the last lap of the second stage. Pulls out, and I thought that he might get as high as 2nd or 3rd. I want to say he only finished 4th. So it'll be interesting to see what moves are made come the end of the race. And it certainly looks like that the Chevys had a big meeting on Saturday morning. They got them all together. They tried to tell me what meeting. Well, they met in the driver's meeting room, which, if you know anything about Talladega, is right next to the media center.
Oh, how
so
convenient.
it's not really hard to see them all going in and their crew chiefs going in. Then a bunch of people with black shirts and Chevrolet logos going in to figure out what in the world was going on.
Well, what was interesting during this round of pit stops, Bob, is some of those Chevys took 4 tires and lost some track position. I saw that Aric Almirola took no tires. There were several 2-tire stops. So that's all positioning. Whatever they did here has to do with what they're going to do later. So when you get 4 here, it leads me to believe just gas and go on that last stop and not get tires and hopefully gain track position back by doing so. So I think if I'm at home, I'm going to really pay attention as to who got 2, who didn't get any, who got 4, and then understand when that next pit stop comes, that is going to give you a hint as to what they'll do later in the race.
And I think they learned earlier in the race. We saw a lot of 2-tire stops, right? And I think they learned or even some gas and goes.
Yeah.
And I think you learned, how important tires are or not important fresh tires are here.
A lot of talk about what style of racing we would see today, and as the bottom has kind of been prevailing, I talked to Jeff Gordon right before the race started. They were down here getting ready to go do some of their pre-race festivity things that they do on the racetrack. And I said, Jeff, this really, to me, if I was running in this race, I feel like I would have studied a Truck Series race. Is that kind of what you're seeing right now? As it looks very similar to
even
that?
before the race, people were saying this is going to be the truck race on steroids.
Because you have, but the reason it's on steroids is because you have 35 good cars out there Whereas
Right.
in the Truck Series, maybe a little more discrepancy between equipment and drivers and talent levels. In the Truck Series, you've got 5 to 10 guys that are really good at the draft, and out here you got 30 of them that are very good at it and in good cars. We saw guys like Michael McDowell, who's maybe a smaller team, lead this race early on or run up front in this race early on. Guy like Bubba Wallace having a great day early on. It just opens up the field to that many more.
I mean, you're talking the fastest laps have been guys like Matt DiBenedetto, Corey LaJoie.
He just Matt D just muscled that car to that lap. That car was so scared. It's like I better go fast with him sitting.
You're
in this
talking
thing.
I want to say a little over 203 miles an hour on those laps. So I think everybody. We always say the cliche is everybody can win with, but with this package, it's even tightened the pack more. So I think what you're going to want to watch for now is what have people learned, how much more will what they learned will they remember, and how much does caution get thrown out the window over the last 20, 30 laps.
But you know why a long shot is a long shot? Because they rarely come in. So my brother always says, man, I got to have me some of that 100-1 on Brendan Gaughan. Well, that's just peeing away $5 if you bet on it generally. So
unless the race was to end at lap 134 and Brendan Gaughan is our leader currently.
No, he's not going to get back to the start-finish line. He's on pit road. So my point is.
Didn't see that.
My point is a favorite will win. You just watch. You can cheer for the underdogs. You can preach hype and say they're going to come through. They're going to get. I guarantee you when it's over today, a favorite will have won. But it's going to be fun. That's what makes upsets so entertaining. What if somebody does overcome those deficits that they're faced with? Who's coming in the garage?
Well, speaking of underdogs, Landon Castle.
0-0 making a trip back to the garage.
Yeah, second time today for them.
Did you have a pick, Bob?
I picked Blaney.
You two are on
Bob,
the same.
I said earlier in the show you're the best on the media center pit road all over the place.
I don't know where mine went.
I'm going to reconfirm the fact that you are the best because we are thinking the same way. Why did you pick Blaney out of curiosity?
Well, I thought the Fords were going to be good, and I have a feeling that he hasn't gotten his win yet among the group, and not that they were going to let him win, but I thought he's had a strong car, and he's obviously. I don't know whether he's the strongest of the bunch today, but he's certainly one who's willing to make moves.
He's aggressive. He's going to make those bold moves.
What about this guy? Larry Mack's talking about him right now on the broadcast. He was talking about Brad Keselowski. Why didn't you go with him? 5-time winner here.
Well, I mean, maybe he's just won enough. I don't know. Or because I thought he might be hitting the back of Kyle Busch and then might be getting favor back in return. I don't know.
Maybe.
Or no favors back in return. So I don't know. You know what? One thing I'm going to look at the end of this race, and this is very technical, but they made this gear change because of RPMs.
Right.
And so are there going to be engine issues over the last 100 miles? And then also, you're talking about such a huge rear spoiler and a wicker bill. That's more downforce that's ever been put on these deck lids.
Yep.
And they're carbon fiber deck lids. And how much have they been flexing during the race? And could there be any issues with those? There's been some speculation there could be late in the race. Could be just crew chiefs being crew chiefs and worrying about everything. But
I'll tell you what, Bob, late in the race once, my spoiler broke off, and I can't believe
it worked out really well.
I couldn't believe I was able to hold on to that truck. A lesser driver would have wiped out. I was somehow able to win the race.
I mean, very rarely do you think, though, about parts and pieces breaking at the end of races anymore. But this is, gotta remember, that was one of the unknowns going into this race is how these cars will handle for 500 miles.
We've shown as well on the Fox onboards today that rear bumper cam, that thing is shaking like crazy because of how disrupted the air is back there. So to further prove your point, we've seen actual camera shots as to how much is going on with the back of those race cars and how rough things are back there from the air.
Well, if you're watching our Fox broadcast, Blaney just got shuffled. That was a very aggressive move to the bottom and the top, and he finds himself in a real pickle. And that's what's so cool about racing here at Talladega, how quickly things can change. You think you've got everything under control. You make one wrong move and you're running 20th and looking forward at a swarming beehive of activity that you've got to figure out somehow to make your way back through.
The good news for Blaney right now, though, is he has found the 17 of Stenhouse Jr., another Ford right behind him. That's a good sign for him. Earlier on in the race, Stenhouse was a good pusher. He was able to help get some guys to the front of the pack.
How about Eric Jones up there? None of us picked him.
You know, we didn't. And here's a guy, right? Eric Jones has had a lot going on. And,
look at this. Look, if you're watching, look at
I
this.
told you. Look at the run. I know.
Look at this push.
They just keep making us look smarter and smarter than we actually are. But
and look who tagged onto the back of it, Matt DiBenedetto, a guy that I think he's going to finish top 5. I really would put money on him.
So you wouldn't put money on him winning because he's a long shot guy, but you're going to put money on the top 5.
There's a big difference between 1st and 5th.
I don't disagree with that. There's a big pay difference, too. You know that as a driver.
But now look, did you saw some guys pull out of line, and did it just stall that outside line? It seems like every time you get about 8 or 10 to go to the middle lane, then somebody says, well, hey, let's try the top.
I'm going to tell you what, they're figuring something out right now, though, Bob, because we've seen it twice now down the back straightaway to where the 12 and the 17 can get the run and they can get the draft just right. They've made up some pretty big ground 2 laps in a row as they come off at turn 2.
And do you think they're just waiting for lap 180 or 182 or 184 or 188?
I think this is all part of the calculations of what do we need to do, when do we need to do it, and we're seeing the good cars start to make the moves. The guys that we know are good at drafting start to make the moves that we would anticipate.
Well, I guarantee you, everything that's going on right now, Bob, is calculated. You're trying to figure out, no matter what part of this pack you're in, you're trying to figure out how you can make a move. And you do it by letting off the gas a little bit, possibly, or maybe dragging the brake, or just taking a different lane. Everything these drivers are doing right now, Joey Logano, so good at restrictor plate racing. There's Blaney up front. Eric Jones, who won down in Daytona last July. Yeah. They're thinking. They're using their brains, their feet, their hands to make a plan for lap 188.
And by the way, Mikey, they're doing it at 203, 204 miles an hour, as we see on the board right there on the left side of the Fox broadcast screen.
They're also doing it, Regan, while dancing around, moving from one lane to the other, making blocks. This isn't easy stuff. Look at the moves these guys are able to make, and that's why this race was predicted to be so entertaining as we go 4 wide, and why it's turned out to be that way.
Kyle Busch, too, the guy that we just talked about falling to the back a little while ago, all the way back up front again in the top 10.
And I'll say one thing, Caitlin, I'll let you get your point in. No one's going to be more aggressive than Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Oh, yeah.
He's that way on the golf course when we play. He's that way if you race go-karts. He is wide open. If he's behind you, I would say that you would expect to be hit.
Well, and earlier today when you were heading out to the infield, we touched on Ricky and about how he doesn't care what guys think about him. And I love that.
Yeah.
If we had 30 guys out there that didn't care what they thought about each other, that is wonderful.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys a point when you were talking about obviously driving at those speeds, just the mental focus that is required of you all when you're driving at Talladega.
When you get out of this race car this afternoon,
just drained?
You are not physically drained. It's hot in the race cars, and
right.
it's a challenge in these cars physically. But the mental aspect of Daytona and Talladega, and especially Talladega, you do a lot more 3 and 4 wide racing at Talladega. When you get out of it, I used to get on the airplane. The airport's really close by here. I used to get on the airplane and almost immediately go to sleep because I was so mentally drained about what we had just done for that long, focused for that long. It's unbelievable that the focus that these guys are putting in, 140 degrees inside those race cars, 200 miles an hour, it takes every ounce of mental focus that you have to do that.
And what is athleticism? Athleticism is doing something that's physically challenged while using your brain. Think about Peyton Manning. Think about Tom Brady. They're athletes. They're obviously very fast and skilled and strong. But how much more important is their job to be mentally sharp, to look at the defense, to make split-second decisions on going forward? That's exactly what you're seeing here today. These athletes, these race car drivers, they're making decisions that could throw them into the wall at 200 miles an hour. They're making them based on what they see, what they hear from their spotter, but you got to understand, this is athleticism at its very best.
Absolutely.
We talked a few minutes ago about what our favorite paint scheme in the field was today.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of us like the 41 of Suarez, but there's a pretty cool tribute car out there, the 37 of Chris Buescher. I just saw him peek out going down the back straightaway. When he peeked out there, don't count guys like that out either. They just seem to find their way there, and then he's hooked up with Matt DiBenedetto right now as we speak.
And I think we agree, Chris Buescher is an awesome racer.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
I lost a championship to him. I was mad about it, too.
We know that he is a talented young racer.
Well, we got 45 to go, so it's a good time now to check in with our social media experts. CJ, what do you got going on, my friend?
All right, so I want to ask you guys a question. Off the top of your head, favorite Talladega finish, which one do you like?
The one I won in 03.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
That's
kind
what I
of
was
figured
thinking.
they are both.
Let me get on past that one. You go now, Regan.
I'm going to tell you, not 2008. Definitely not 2008. I have to go back to when we had the tandem racing and they came across the line.
4 wide?
8 wide. Well, 4 wide, 4x4 basically. 8 cars literally within, I think a tenth of a second of each other. It was some ridiculous number like that. I came off of turn 4 running in 9th place. I was hooked up with Jeff Burton. Felt like we were going to be in a perfect position to perhaps win that race. By the time it was all said and done, our cars broke apart. We ended up finishing 15th and 16th. And I literally felt like I was running on track positionally in 4th or 5th. That's how close we were to the front of the pack. So that was a absolutely incredible race.
Mine's got to be Kevin Harvick cutting his winless streak back in 2010, barely beating Jamie McMurray to the line. But we've got some of them prepared for you.
You didn't let me go.
I thought. What's your favorite finish?
Completely, Caitlin.
I never spoke.
What's your favorite finish?
I guess maybe Brad's first career win in the Cup Series.
That was
here.
a good win.
Yeah.
I liked it. So we have a package for you. Some of the best Talladega finishes as we get ready right now. We're less than 50 laps to go here at Talladega.
Here's what I want to tell you. If mine isn't in here, you and I got a problem.
They come to the white flag. 1 lap to go.
And it's a race from here on, no matter what happens.
Johnson looked high. Kenseth to drag with Edwards. Johnson to the bottom. Almirola to the top.
Man, Matt got shuffled out again.
Jimmy Johnson with Carl Edwards. But Kenseth up the middle, coming back. Help from David Regan. Up to the bumper of Carl Edwards. Regan in the middle. His teammate Gilliland is the pusher. They're right on the bumper of Edwards. Is there anywhere to go? Regan to the bottom. Gilliland with him. David Regan, July winner at Daytona a couple of years ago. Gilliland with him. Edwards up top. Michael Waltrip to help. And here they come on turn 4.
Push, boys, push. Push hard.
Edwards high. Regan comes up. Carl on the spot.
Regan got it. He's got it.
Front row racing again. The victory lane at Talladega. Regan first. Gilliland second. I love that.
Oh, yeah, baby. Yeah.
Look at those teammates.
No, but this team.
You just think about David Regan, David Gilliland, and their other teammate, Josh Rice, written together early in the Daytona 500.
What a celebration. What a great win for this.
Bob Jenkins, the car owner, is...
They need to watch this race today.
His dad, Ken Regan, a longtime independent driver on the Sprint Cup circuit.
And one of the nicest young men you'll ever meet in your life.
Dave Blaney first to break from the traffic with Brad Keselowski. Here come Ryan Vickers and Casey Kane. Whole knot of cars behind them. But Jeff Burton is a half a lap for victory. This far clear of the pack. Does Boyer pull out and try and win? There's a chance that Boyer might try to pull out and win when they get to the trial. Here he goes. Here he goes. Does the pack have a chance to run him down?
Over there, you and him.
Side by side in contact. The pack is not going to catch him. Still on the side. Clint Boyer gets the win.
I don't know who won that. Good job, Clint.
That's exactly why Clint Boyer wanted to get Jeff Burton out there so they could get far enough that he might could make a move to have a chance to win this race. That was passing at his perfection.
I wanted to, obviously I was trying to figure out where to pass him, and I was going to, I said I'm at least going to give him a shot at it. I'm going to try it early, and it's going to be a drag race.
Cross the line, head back off into turn number 1, and it will be Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin. Can they hang on to the lead as they're looking for a checkered flag and one more lap around?
Gordon and Martin laid in the weeds for much of the afternoon, but now in the final lap, they're where they want to be, first and second. Here comes Boyer. Here comes Harvick. They're going to challenge on the back straightaway.
For now, they stay single file. Here comes the move. Boyer to the outside. Harvick goes to the outside. Side by side for the lead and the win at Talladega.
Jeff Gordon dives to the inside. He's got Mark Martin. Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jimmy Johnson. 6 Chevrolets to settle it here at Talladega. Gordon to the inside. It is Clint Boyer to the outside for the final time.
Boyer trying to hang on to the top spot. RCR trying to make it 3 in a row here at Talladega Superspeedway. About to be decided. Into the triangle they come. The challenge on down low. Jimmy Johnson pulls out front, but Boyer looks like he held him off. No, they're saying Jimmy Johnson. High fives all the way around.
Chad Knaus, the rest of this Lowe's team, absolutely stunned. They are now trying to figure out, make sure everything's okay. Are they definitely going to victory lane?
And the two lead groups started side drafting and slowed each other up. I had a good run into 3, but nowhere to go with it. And then by the time we got back to the tri-oval, we had another big run going, and those guys were worried about side drafting each other towards the top of the track and left that bottom wide open for us, and we rallied our way through there.
How long will Harvick stay there? They're working back to the tri-oval.
Couple of Daytona 500 winners going for the victory today here at Talladega Super Speedway. The defending Daytona 500 winner, Jimmy McMurray up front. Here comes Kevin Harvick diving to the inside, and he's going to pick it off. The 2007 winner of the Daytona 500 will win today in the Aaron's 499 at Talladega Super Speedway. He pushed McMurray all the way around the track, and then when they came in the tri-oval, Barney, he dove to the inside of the track and made the pass.
Make sure that he and McMurray got away from the field. They accomplished that, and with a couple or 300 yards remaining in the race, he went on to job 1. Jumped to the inside and beat McMurray to the finish line by a heartbeat.
Regan Smith, the rookie. Paul Menard is there. Tony Stewart has never won at Talladega in a NASCAR Sprint Cup car.
He's about to do a lot of blocking right here. They've got to run on him. Got to run.
Here they come.
I can't go down there and do that, though.
Actually, I think it's legal on the last lap. He might have got it right there. I think it's legal on the last lap. We're looking next door to see.
And below the yellow line, it's below.
We still haven't got an indication, but it looks like Regan's 5th one this race.
Why would it be legal on the last lap? It's not for 187.
Here's the replay again. Watch the 0-1.
And he got forced down there. I mean, Tony Stewart actually forced him down a little bit.
Well, yeah, if you're going to consider that he only...
Yeah.
They are saying Tony Stewart has won the race. Tony Stewart is the official winner here at Talladega. They would not allow that pass below the yellow line.
That's the only way that can be. You can't race one way for 187 laps and change on the last lap.
Well, I knew I was going to get one shot at him, and Paul was back there pushing me. I backed it up a little bit going into 3, and I knew where I was going to make my move at. And I don't know. I always got told that the rule is if you get forced down there, then you're the winner of the race. On the last lap, anything goes. It's
one thing to get back to victory lane, but to do it at Talladega, this is one of about 4 places I haven't won a cup race at, and man, talk about wanting to win. I've wanted to win here for so long. I've got so many friends down here, and Red Farmer and Donnie Allison and all these fans, man. I mean, there's so much orange up there, and I know this hasn't been one of my favorite places on the fan side. People haven't always liked me here, but this was for those guys up in the stands.
All right, 35 to go here from Talladega Superspeedway. Joey Logano currently shown as the leader. We just were looking back at some good moments from Talladega.
Good. It depends on your perspective.
It depends on your perspective. But I know Mikey mentioned a moment ago when we had the Twitter question on his favorite moment was the 2003, of course, his victory here in the Cup Series. We kind of want to relive this. We want to relive that moment he referenced. So I know we've got a little bit of a piece to kind of show that and take a look at Michael's win from 2003.
I have to tell you about my favorite Talladega moment, since we're going to head to that beautiful 2.66 mile super speedway in Alabama. It was 2003, and it's been on Twitter this week. It's pretty funny because my crew guys that were a part of that race that day have been talking about what I was saying on the radio about what a piece of crap car I was driving and how I couldn't pass anyone and I couldn't keep up with anyone. And my crew chief, Slugger Labby, he made a decision late in the race to try to stretch our fuel mileage and get our car up front. I'd been back in the traffic the whole day long. I couldn't make any moves, and we got up front, and that thing came to life, and it was running. And we had the lead with just 3 laps to go, and Elliott Sadler flips down the back straightaway, goes tumbling into turn 3. NASCAR throws the red flag, and we come to a stop. I'm in first, Dale Jr.'s in second, Jeff Gordon's right there battling with us as well, and we're under a red flag. So now it's going to be a sprint to the checker. This was a green-white checker before there was such thing as green-white checker. We didn't go into NASCAR overtime, but we certainly had to finish it to the checker with a green flag, white flag, checkered finish. Come off turn 2, I got the lead. coming down to get the white. Feel really happy about where I'm at. Jeff Gordon gets a nice run on the outside of Dale Jr., goes to the top side. I go up and block him, dive to the bottom, block off Dale Jr., was able to hold off Jeff Gordon, and won at Talladega Superspeedway. And why that was important to me, I grew up in Kentucky. And as a kid in Kentucky, one of the best trips of the whole summer for me was when we would go to Alabama to watch Darrell race at Talladega. I was so intimidated by that place. It freaked me out because people got hurt there. There were bad crashes. And my brother was out there racing, but I always thought, man, if I could ever get a chance to race on those banks. And I did. I got my chance, and I got a victory back in 2003. That's a special moment to me. It's a trophy that I cherish. And so I was talking to Jeff Gordon a couple of months ago, and I said, I just put that perfect block on you when I went up high, and I was able to win the race. He said, that wasn't a perfect block. I messed up. I went up too high when you made that block. I'm like, damn, Jeff, can't you give a brother some credit? I thought I did a perfect job. And by the way, if it wasn't a perfect block, then why didn't you win? Think about that, Jeff. And for all those crew guys that I said that car was a piece of crap, man, I'm sorry. We got to victory lane, though. And I got to pop out of my hatch. We had a roof hatch, and I won, and my victory celebration was me hanging out the roof. That was a pretty good day in NASCAR to me.
Oh, well, very nice memory there shared from Waltrip Unfiltered, Mikey's podcast. I love listening to his podcast every week. But we've had a crazy race happening while we were watching that segment on pit road, guys. What'd you make of that with Brad Keselowski?
A good break for Brad, actually. As he came to the pits right there, it looked like he probably wheel hopped his car just a little bit. As he did that, the car starts to spin out on him. Well, what luck to spin perfectly into your own pit stall. Be able to do the pit stop backward. And the best part about that, over our shoulder, we could hear the crowd. And you can see the guys directly behind us, but over our, I guess it would be my left shoulder, the stands are probably 100 yards away from us right here.
Right.
The entire crowd starts cheering, and that's because Brad whips a donut in his pit stall, drives right back off pit road. He likely lost the draft, but could have been a lot worse for him in terms of how this race is going to play out. We see that he's basically about turns 3 and 4 away from the pack right now. So without a caution, his day is over. He needs a caution badly right now. But then the other thing that just took place right there was Eric Jones getting blocked by David Regan. David Regan misses his pit stall. Instead of going around and saying, you know what, I missed the stall, I got to keep going, he stops in Eric Jones' stall. Well, Eric Jones is trying to get in and do a pit stop. So David Regan, they're bumper to bumper. The pit crew guys can't get around to the right side of Eric Jones' race car. Cost him a ton of time. A car that was leading the race a bunch right before that pit sequence now potentially might have taken him out of a shot to win this race. So a little bit of a bummer for him.
Mayhem.
Mayhem on pit road.
Absolute mayhem. You said the pit stops would be mayhem.
Yeah. And that's why I love that we have in-car cameras and visor cams, because you can't think at home if you're watching a NASCAR race, oh, they're going to take a pit stop to get a break. I mean, it's more intense, as intense as racing on the track, because you know how crazy it can get. And you know, the reason why Brad wheel hopped is because you got to get all you can get. You got to have every inch of the road to be successful, and he tried to get more than was there, and around he went.
That half a second extra on the pit road could be worth 2 or 3 spots when you come off of pit road.
Yeah.
And that can very easily be the difference of being in position to win the race or position to finish 2nd or 3rd in the race.
27th
and
now.
these
we got
guys
less
know
than
that.
30 to go.
Well, when you make the big mistake like you did, that definitely makes it even worse yet for you.
We're seeing some great camera angles from our Fox coverage of Talladega, which I love this place, but 3 and 4 wide. But like you said earlier, Regan, that I love that rear bumper cam where it's shaking around, because that reminds me of what my brain looked like when I was driving at Talladega. Like when I'm driving around Talladega, it looked just like that to me. And then when I see these perfectly positioned cameras where it looks like my grandma could drive down to the supermarket like that, I'm like, well,
that's not how it is.
It's not like that. So I think what we should do is have looser camera mounts. It should be, they should
let
move
it
around.
show what's really going on in the car.
Oh,
Ooh.
I love NASCAR.
Oh, recap.
Recap here. A little bit earlier on.
Recap.
No, I meant,
what
I was
happened in
talking
stage
about
1,
the cameras.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you saw the wreck happening. I was like, Michael, that happened a while ago. I know you're in the infield for a while. I don't know what they were serving you in the infield, but that was early on in the race.
Lobster, it looked like lobster for him.
They were serving a nice blend of unsweet tea and lemonade.
Very
they call it
nice.
an Arnie Palmer.
Arnie Palmer.
But we are seeing on the Fox broadcast now a recap of what's happened. We saw that accident early on in stage 1. Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Boyer was
right
involved.
here.
Ty
Brad.
Dillon was the stage
Perfect stop.
1 winner. Chase Elliott,
He
stage
should get
2
style
winner.
points for that.
Yep.
They should
I
put him
agree.
ahead.
Been an exciting race, and
It has.
here's the thing: we're just getting started, and I hate to keep preaching this, but this is go time. This is when it happens,
26 to
and
go,
we
yeah.
have just over to the left of us the care center. I'm going to tell you folks something. We haven't seen the last driver go in that care center today. There will be others that enter into that care center, and they are not going to be happy about it.
Well, let's check in with CJ, our social media expert. CJ, what do you got for us?
All right, so we found the replay, and you guys were talking about the weird backwards pit stop, but we do have a replay for you. So what happened here?
It just was wheel hop. I think Brad trying to get in as hard as he could get. His car got away from him a bit. But then, I mean...
See the bumps? He hit the bumps, and that may have played a factor in it as well. There's some bumps, so the lower you go right there. He caught those bumps, and that may have started the actual wheel
But
hopping for
sometimes
him.
it's so cool to be a badass. And Brad Keselowski is a badass.
Right
He
here,
can drive
watch the car hop up and down. Right there, that one hop up and down with the nose, that was enough to set the rear of the car actually wheel hopping.
But he didn't ever quit driving it. And
Look
he
at that.
puts
No.
it right in the box.
Perfectly in the box.
And then they change the tires. But then the best part is after that's all done, he just burns a
that
donut right out of there.
How about the pit crew guys having the wherewithal about them
Oh,
to
yeah.
know, you know what, we got to do the right
Adjust on
side.
the fly.
Paul Wolf on the top of that pit box saying, right sides, do it. You're in the box, you're good to go, because there are rules. Your car can be backwards in the pit box, but it's got to be completely in your pit box. That was a very nice job from that entire team. Brad driving, the pit crew paying attention, and Paul Wolf communicating
Paul
with them
Wolf's
what
one
to
of the
do right
best
there.
If I was a pit crew guy, I'd have been like, oh, darn. The car is backwards. Where do I go? But that just shows you what athleticism there is on pit road.
If you're the rear guy and now you're the front guy, how do you determine where to put that tire on?
And that's why I wanted so bad for Regan to go down there and see those guys, because not only are they smart, but they're freaking crazy athletes.
Yeah.
I mean, they hoist that jack around the car like it's a feather, and they grab those 70-pound tires and put them where they're supposed to be. I just am so in awe of the job the pit crew guys do.
I've tried a couple times to bounce on the jack and actually put the car up in the air, and
How'd that go?
it takes a lot of force and
Yeah.
a lot of there's a technique to that. Not only having the size to do it, but a severe technique to it to be able to get that car off of the ground with one pump, the way those jacks are designed.
Right.
And I got to tell you something. It almost springboarded me from the jack post into the race car, and I didn't make the car budge, not even a single inch. So it was rather embarrassing to me. And to Michael's point, these guys, they're athletes. It used to be that we had guys that worked on the race cars
Right,
and guys
did
that
double
were
duty kind
yeah,
of
they would
mechanics
they would
and pit
basically
crew.
do the entire job, and they travel and do everything all weekend long. And now we've got guys that are basically they are
Recruited
strictly
from
recruited
college athletes. I mean, they do big
former
combines.
hockey players, a lot of Division I athletes that maybe didn't get to go pro in their sport, had an injury, something like that. These teams, and I know Hendrick Motorsports is one of the ones that's very
do
well
a
known
big
for doing
pit
this.
crew combine, yeah.
They go directly to those schools and they say, hey, if you're not going to go pro, come try out for us, and you can make very good money. I mean, these guys are making six figures.
Oh, yes.
Very good six-figure salaries pitting these race cars, and it's been a big change in what the years past
One
have
of the
been.
best pit crews, the driver obviously running right now in the top 5, Kyle Busch. That team has risen to the occasion a lot this year. They're
And
a very strong pit crew.
The same crew as
Same
last year. I think that's a
crew.
big thing to
It
point
is.
out. When you talk
The
Kyle Busch's crew,
continuity,
it's the same guys that he had the year before. They didn't leave. They had no turnover. A lot of times you have serious turnover, but not with that particular pit crew.
With that, I actually had that conversation with Adam Stevens just 2 weeks ago. Actually, the continuity of the whole team, not just the pit crew, but also the road crew. He's had the same car chief, mechanics, the interior, front end guys for a number of years. A lot of them the same from
Right.
when he won his championship. So Adam was saying that pays big dividends for them, having that familiarity with each other. But I know Michael, as we saw, he just kind of walked off, but that's kind of how he is.
Squirrel. It gets back to what we said earlier.
That's
Squirrel.
right.
Where?
But he is hanging out right now, I think. Perhaps.
Can't quite see where
know where-
Michael's
I don't know
gotten
where
off
he
to
went.
right now. Michael likes to go check things out, and and wander quite a bit.
does,
so we
yeah.
will.
We'll wait.
We will get to Michael here in just a second.
Yeah,
I think he's tracking down a hot story here in the garage area. So as soon as he's able to track it down,
we're getting a camera to him. So sometimes,
again, one of those things you never know with Mikey what might be possible. So
Oh, God, love him.
as he's doing that, we're getting to 20 laps to go, and a lot going on the track, and there's a lot going on in the garage area. I think Michael is ready for what's going on right now with him.
Hey guys, while the pack is screaming down the front straightaway, Stanton Barrett has been racing NASCAR for a long time. He has a one-off chance every now and then, and it's a good-looking Husky chocolate car, but unfortunately it went into the wall. What happened?
Yeah, we had a bolt come off into the tie rod, so I kind of felt it in the tri-oval, so I slowed down a little bit, hoping it wasn't a tie. You know, I thought, man, something's really wrong here, so I went slower going and wanted to be safe, and sure enough, I heard a snap and came out. And
into the wall you went. Look at your
make it as non-abrasive as possible.
Look at your crew over here. You got a good-looking Husky chocolate group. What is Husky chocolate?
So Husky chocolate, it's a real hot chocolate with drilled syrup that we make over in Europe. It's B2B right now with ski resorts, restaurants, and cafes and all that. So we service the food industry with amazing real hot chocolate. Coming out with an organic cold chocolate beverage that's outstanding. So kind of using the race to get awareness and get some distribution and get it out to the fans.
I don't know if people appreciate or understand your background. Your dad, Stan, was a crazy, amazing stunt racer. You brought Burt Reynolds to NASCAR.
Yeah, Burt Reynolds and Paul Newman.
Yeah, and you've followed in those footsteps and
sure tried.
done some interesting things.
Yeah, thank you. Got to race with you a bunch, so I had a lot of fun and had a great career for a long time. So not as great as yours, but I still was out there.
Well, I hope to see you back again with your beautiful team.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me, man. Always good.
So that's Stanton Barrett. And this race, guys, on the track, hey, if you guys want a free hat, just follow us on Twitter, Instagram. We'll get you a hat.
That's awesome. Thank you.
That's all. I'm not real good at this, so really all I got. But, hey, appreciate y'all coming to NASCAR.
Thanks for having us.
You having a good time?
Oh, yeah, great time. Always.
Awesome. So anyway, back to y'all, because that was pretty bad at the end. I don't know what I was doing. Appreciate you.
It's been a calm final stage thus far, but as you predicted earlier, you think there will still be some trips to the Infill Care Center potentially.
And the racing's getting wilder. We're seeing Joey Logano do what we would expect out of Joey Logano. You can hear it on a little bit of the scanner frequency that we were actually airing for a split second there. I think it was off of the actual Fox feed, but Joey and his spotter TJ Majors, and that's something we can't look past. Michael had said earlier that Joey's one of the best he's ever seen at this, but you can't look past the fact that he's paired up with TJ Majors in terms of spotters. And I was fortunate enough; both of my super speedway wins came with TJ Majors on the, or actually one of the two wins
Dale
came with
Jr.'s
TJ Majors on the roof.
Wins as well.
He is something else when it comes to spotting the plate track or the super speedway tracks.
Yeah.
That's twice today now. 50 cents I'm up to. He's something else when it comes to spotting that, and he's got this knack for seeing the runs and being able to talk the runs through his driver. And we saw him and Joey Logano get together and have success immediately in terms of a driver-spotter combination with that. And they're continuing it on right now here today. The moves he's calling, the way that they're manipulating the pack, I didn't think we would see a car manipulate the pack like he's been able to, and he's doing that right now.
But you have to give a ton of credit to Joey Logano because he's getting that information and he's processing it, and he's. Can y'all hear me?
There we go.
I was turned off.
We couldn't hear you for a second.
Now I'm turned on.
I don't know where to go with that.
Yeah, I'm just going to tell you.
I'm just going to scoot over closer to Caitlin for a second.
He's processing the information.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard to explain what a job that Joey Logano does behind the wheel, moving that car back and forth, making those moves, because it's one thing to be told what to do, but then to be able to act that quickly because there's a delay. And remember, Caitlin, when they're going down the back straightaway, TJ is a mile away. And Joey's got a lot of that he has to decide on his own. He's using TJ, but he's also making decisions on his own.
Hey, you predicted this earlier, Mikey. You said you had your money on Matt DiBenedetto to get a top 5. Right now he's running second.
Yeah,
well, third.
And I also said that he wouldn't win.
You did say that.
That he would finish top 5, but he wouldn't win. And I'll stand by that as well. You know, you're going to have great stories of guys that charge to the front. I mean, look at Daniel Suarez. He's going to get shucked here because Blaney went to the inside.
A tactical error for Suarez right there.
But you're going to have that, and it isn't too late to commit those. You just have to make sure that you learn from it. And I saw a nice move by Kurt Busch. He shucked his brother, and now what? Now Kyle's in front and Kurt's behind him. So
DiBenedetto's about to suffer the same fate as what just happened to Suarez as well. They shucked him out of the way. And this is where the wreck is going to come from, is somebody getting shuffled out of line and then trying to get back into line, thinking that they know they're going to go all the way to the back. All these drivers have just seen that take place as we're watching on the broadcast feed. They've seen those cars go back 20, 25 spots. They're going to get more aggressive about getting in line and staying in line right there as we see Stenhouse dive down in front of Martin Truex Jr. And this is exactly what we thought we'd see with about 15 to go.
It's nuts, and they're gonna. And I'm just gonna tell you,
I'm nervous. I'm sitting here like clenching up every time they're making these moves.
I'm just gonna tell you, there's gonna be a wreck. Somebody's gonna mistime one of those moves. But I think it's really interesting. You see Logano out front. He's the guy that we feel like maybe is the best. I know it's hard for other drivers to hear that, but probably the best at manipulating the lines, using all the air to his advantage. You talked about his spotter, TJ Majors, but then as soon as you say that, how do you think you're going to tell Kyle Busch he isn't the best? He thinks he's the best. And that's why this gets so fun.
Well, and Kyle highlighted this week. I saw a report or a story where he basically said, Denny has been better at this than me because he's been more aggressive. I've had the same cars as him, and he's won more and run up front more because he's been more aggressive. So I would anticipate seeing Kyle Busch with that in mind being very aggressive at the end of this race. And we know when Kyle wants to get aggressive, he can do that.
Well, we are about 12 to go here at Talladega. Wanting to remind you and thank you for joining us here on the Fox Hot Pass Hangout presented by Coca-Cola Orange Vanilla. It's been an eventful day thus far. I think it's time maybe to check in with CJ once again, our social media expert. CJ, what do you got?
Yeah, so the laps are winding down. I want to say once again thank you to all the fans for joining in, being a part of the show here today, for sharing. Don't forget, no matter where you're watching, share the broadcast. I'm going to go through, before I drive home to Charlotte, pick one winner, and I'm going to send you my Daniel Suarez autographed Coca-Cola hat. That can be yours. You can be a winner, too, here in Talladega. So our final fan question of the broadcast coming in from Jacob, and I like it. He goes with the classic if you could start a race team question. If you were going to have one Dega start, you're a one-and-done team, and you can pick any driver from any era to put behind the wheel of your car, who's it going to be?
Well, if Michael could have had one Dega start, a one-and-done team, that would have saved him a lot of money over the years. I think he would have been okay with that. But if I'm going to do one-and-done, and, man, the racing is getting awful dicey. Blaney is almost wrecked 3 times in one corner, basically, right
that
there.
Was off the bumper of Truex.
That
he got
was
really
a
aggressive.
Hell of a save right there. Me, personally, if I can have one driver, one race, I got to tell you, it's hard for me to go against Joey Logano and what he's been able to accomplish, what he's been able to do on the racetrack, and what he's done the past few races at these plate races. He's been very, very solid as of late.
I would take Dale Earnhardt. I want Dale Earnhardt to come back and understand these rules. And
I kind of left that one on a tee for you there.
Yeah, and watch this. If you're watching home, I mean, Truex just basically almost wrecks.
That was weird.
That
car
caught
jumped
the air
all by itself. Yeah.
He caught the air off the 22 after that big push from Truex.
Just shows you what they're dealing with. They're not just dealing with cars pushing them. They're dealing with air still messing with the cars as well.
Right. Oh, and I saw Kurt Busch getting a bit of a bind there, and he slid up the hill. And that.
Look, now Truex needs help from Blaney. He just about wrecked him a second ago, and they got to help each other. That's how speedway racing. That's 3 times now. That's how speedway racing works. Is you're going to end up back by the guy that maybe had almost dumped you earlier in the race, or you had a close run in with, and
Is anyone surprised that Logano late has taken control of this race? I think not.
No.
3-time winner here. I am disappointed. My guy, though, Brad Keselowski, obviously not going to get it done today.
Well, I think Brad might be in a good spot still because we haven't seen that last caution that we keep talking about, and he'll catch back up when that happens.
Don't say anyone's not going to get it done today.
Fair enough.
It's way too early.
I think if you're still on the lead lap, you still have a shot. And
Yeah.
if you're in position to get the lucky dog, you still have a shot right now.
I like Stenhouse, though. We talked about how aggressive he is. He's sitting there, or he is. He's sitting there running third. He knows how talented the two racers ahead of him and the ones behind him are. So he's just collecting information, trying to see when his car makes a nice run. You know, Regan, even though the rules are pretty much together for all the cars, yours will maybe based on how it's tuned, it'll run a little bit better off the corner,
right.
or it'll run a little bit better at the end of the straightaway. So you're processing all of what your car is doing and what it feels like.
You know, the cars get run and the energy changes at different spots on the racetrack. And there were 2 optional gears that these guys could run. They had their choice of a couple different gear ratios this weekend. And that could change where the runs come as well. And I know the engine manufacturers were all concerned about the high RPMs that we saw in the engines in the draft when they were running those big speeds. But I got a question for you, Michael, and you were very good at this type of racing. We asked earlier in the race where you wanted to run earlier on. Where do you think you would want to be right now as we're getting down to the end of this? A lot of guys thought you wanted to be the leader. Some guys thought you didn't want to lead because he was a sitting duck when it came down to the end of this. So where do you want to be based on what you've seen today right now?
I want to be Joey Logano because not only is he leading and he's in control of the race, he's taken charge. He's led the last 10 laps or so. But his ability to block, he knows how to move it around. So if I were – we got one in the outside wall.
Oh, big hit.
And that's DiBenedetto.
We got Chris Buescher, Martin Truex involved in this wreck.
It looked like also Justin Haley. Oh, and
that'd be Truex. I don't think Truex actually hit anything. I think he's just getting his car spun around.
DiBenedetto was in it, right? I thought
DiBenedetto was definitely in it. Yeah, he was the one that actually hit the 37. We see all the damage to the front of that race car. That was a very hard impact, and curious to see what got the. As glad to see him climbing out of that car. A little bit of a fire where the fuel connects into
Justin
the
Haley there.
engine. Justin Haley. You know, I always, I think my favorite part about when there is a wreck is seeing the drivers get out of the race car and know that all of the things that NASCAR has implemented with the safety and that we've been fortunate to learn over the years. And, you know, it's come at a big price for a lot of people, but we've learned from the past and get out of wrecks that you just don't think they're going to walk away from. And that's a great thing.
CJ Welliver, we've got another poll question that I'd like you to run for our friends at home, and that is that our last crash of the day? I think not. So CJ will get on the Twitter machine.
There we
CJ
go.
will get on Instagram, Fox Sports app, and we're going to ask our fans. And you know what? We're going to give one lucky fan a beautiful Coca-Cola hat.
You should sign that hat, Mikey.
I'll sign
along
it
with Daniel Suarez.
You're gonna sign? I think that's perfect. So
ask our poll: is that the last crash?
The last crash of the day. So if you want to vote in on our fan poll, do YES or NO. You'll be able to vote along, and we'll make sure that we get the results up for you as Danny, who's been cranking on the graphics all day, putting that together for us here.
I want to tell you
I
also,
want to know from you guys, do you think this is it? Do you think we have another big one before the end of the day?
Fortunately, do not think that is going to be it, and I will say that was a huge impact by DiBenedetto and Buescher. Glad to see both those guys out of those race cars already. Looked like it started off of the front bumper of ARIC Almirola. A little bit of a push gone wrong here in just a second. I think he gets lined up just off of the corner a little bit, and we're going to see it just turns Buescher around. I don't know what else to say about that other than it was just a bump draft gone wrong.
And you're going to have those, and Truex was unfortunately collected in it. You could see Kyle Larson, my guy, was able to slip by on the bottom, so he's still in contention. I think from what I've seen and the way the action has intensified, I think for sure we're going to see another crash.
Yeah, and so right now the fan numbers coming in, 93% of fans do not think that was our last big crash so far.
And which one of them are you going to give that beautiful Coca-Cola hat to?
Going through a pick, they got to share it too. So we're going to go through, we're going to pick one.
See who shares it.
Yeah.
Can we say that's almost as unanimous of a poll as we can get?
No.
I mean, that's pretty close.
It's pretty close. Now it's up
in terms
to 95.
of Twitter, 95%. That's like 120%
Pretty
in terms of Twitter.
Look at Truex just coming into the camera.
And he did get some damage off of that. I thought he got through with just
Yeah.
spinning, but unfortunately, I think he made contact right here with the 95 of Matt
This place has
DiBenedetto.
not been good to him.
No,
Right
you know
rear
something
damage.
I noticed in that wreck that I'm really pleased with, though? There's been a lot of changes made to these race cars to keep them on the ground, and we're running as fast as we ever have, and we see that impact. That usually it's the impact that sends the cars into the air. It stays on the ground right here, and as we're watching the feed of the actual broadcast, when Buescher gets hit by the 95 car of DiBenedetto, that car goes in the air, but it immediately goes right back down to the ground, and that's been something NASCAR has worked extremely hard at and been very diligent about trying to make sure we keep these things on the ground. And I think that's why they had some confidence in the speeds that we were running this weekend that they could do that and still keep them from getting airborne, which none of us want to see.
No.
Well, that's a cleanup right there.
Yeah.
That's a real cleanup.
That is.
And wanted to say quick, we had a lot of shares, a lot of votes.
Nothing that wasn't good. It was tied. Cleanup.
Yeah,
Get it?
I know. I was with you. It
Michael's
it
punt
wasn't a
game
tied
is on
stick,
point.
but it was close.
Always. But I want to say congratulations. She shared, she voted, she weighed in. She didn't think it was going to be the last crash of the day. But Patricia Cole, I'm going to be sending you a Coca-Cola hat signed by Daniel Suarez and also Michael Waltrip. We're going to put his autograph on there for you too. On it, might be able to get Regan Smith to sign it for you. We'll see.
CJ,
if I can run into him before the end of the race.
I want to tell you the view of our crack staff from CJ to Neil down to Alex and on down the line. That's just beautiful. It shows that we're not only here to show you pictures and tell stories. We have folks that are working hard behind the scenes to make sure our NASCAR fans can participate. Today is all about interactivity and access. And we're giving you that access, and
That's what
we're giving
Hot Pass is all about, baby.
That's
you got
true.
that right.
And you mentioned the access, Michael. We are going to be going to Victory Lane to interview the winner as well. Once we have a winner.
And I want to
But
know,
this
guys,
cleanup might take a little
commenting.
while.
You know, it might take a little bit, but who do you think Caitlin is going to go visit in Victory Lane? Let's get those comments in. I'm going to start pulling up some of the votes. You'll see your name on screen. And also, thank you guys so much for playing along all day. This has been a great one. What do you think?
With Kyle Larson.
You're still doing Kyle Larson. I like it. I like it.
I've been there all day, and I'm not going away now.
Karen is going. She says that she likes it if Ricky gets to Victory Lane. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. What do you guys think about that one?
I like that pick. I love Ricky's personality. I love how he acts, so I'm good with that.
What happened to your big Kyle Larson face?
He fell down.
He fell. Oh, but he's made it to the infield and the garage, all kinds of places.
We've had a good time today. Kyle and I, we're buddies, so it's good to
Golfing partners,
share.
right?
I have a Daniel one, so Daniel's been hanging out. The wind has not agreed with him a whole lot, but
Where you
I'm
going?
still representing my Coca-Cola Orange Vanilla boy, Daniel Suarez, here today. And again, thank you, Coca-Cola, for bringing Hot Pass Hangout for you here today. Let's see, taking a look at some more of the fans that have been voting and see who they think is going to go to Victory Lane here today. We got a lot of fans. Devin, we've got Michael saying the 18. We've got Marilyn picking Chase Elliott. We've got Dennis saying Ryan Blaney. So they're certainly weighing in here today as we're wrapping it up here just about at Talladega. Make sure you watch the finish with us here on Hot Pass Hangout. Mike, have you had fun today, Michael?
I've had a great day, and we're under red flag right now, CJ. You know, the cars are stopped on the back straightaway. Crash, but that just gives the drivers more of an opportunity to make a plan. I remember you were talking earlier about my win here back in, as they pull Chris Buescher's car behind us, my win here back in 2003, we had a red flag late.
You did.
And, you know, I took into everything I'd felt, seen, the moves, the air, the momentum, and you just sort of process it all and come up with a plan as to how you're going to attack those last couple of laps. And that's everything that's going on in those cars right now. Drivers aren't just sitting there looking at their watches. They're seriously thinking and contemplating about what might happen and how they might have the best chance to win this race.
So if you're on a pit box right now and you got a driver that's still in the hunt fighting for this win while we're on a red flag, what are you saying to that driver, trying to keep them calm, trying to keep them focused? What's your best advice for the driver from a crew chief perspective?
I think the crew chief just says this, they're going to have it cleaned up here in a couple minutes. Just stay focused. Make sure you think about all the things that you've been through today. And then you also remind the spotter, let's stay sharp. Let's make sure we don't lose our adrenaline, not lose our energy,
Edge, yeah.
and make sure we stay on the same page so that we're able to finish the deal. they're almost home, but it doesn't matter. It isn't over till it's over, and these racers know that. And you know what? Also, that is so famous about Talladega, CJ. If you ain't first, you're last.
That's right.
So you better
And the
better
words
shake
of
and
Ricky
bake.
Bobby.
I love that too in the movies. Like you could be second or third. No, you're first or last. But our team back in LA clipping the replays for us. They actually were able to get it to us really quick. We've got the replay from the big crash that brought out this red flag that we're going to show you and break it down for you here during Hot Pass Hangout.
Oh, it's just dirty looking. I mean, the contact. You sometimes seem to forget that these cars are running 200 miles an hour, but when Matt DiBenedetto piled in to Chris Buescher, and
You
then
were reminded.
Yeah, you see how. I mean, these cars weigh 3,400 pounds, and look, they just get thrown around like they're pieces of paper. And those impacts, while it's safer than it used to be, that hurts. These guys tomorrow are going to feel all that energy and that impact.
I think maybe Regan went off to the Infield Care Center to try and talk to some of those drivers who will be released from there shortly. I see the lobster you brought back has found a new home. Did you see that?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's on the
I
mic
like it.
stand first.
Hey, man.
CJ's mic. That's good.
I grew up where we caught these back behind the house, so I'm cool with that. They weren't quite that big at all, but I think we called them more crawdaddies, too.
That's a good look. You get a crawdaddy and a Coca-Cola, orange,
There you
vanilla,
go.
zero.
I like the ring to it.
I love it all.
We got the 77 car behind us. Justin Haley, I know we mentioned him earlier, making his Cup Series debut. His 20th birthday, not the present he was hoping for, Mikey.
Yeah, but down at the Infield Care Center, I see Regan Smith. He's conversing with Vince Welch, our Fox
Road
NASCAR
reporter,
reporter and the voice of the Gander Outdoors Truck Series. Vince is down there, and everybody's waiting for the drivers to come out. So what's interesting about this is these guys are going to have the latest insight, the latest info that we can share with our folks at home about what's going on out there on the racetrack. So we talked about accessibility and how we're able to give folks at home the information that they want and they need. Well, then that's why we're here, to bring that to them.
So I like this question that came in from Darlene. How far back do you think is too far to be able to have won this race?
Darlene.
Sit
down, I want to talk to you. You ever heard that song?
I have. I used to work on the radio, so my wife says I know the words to every song that comes on the radio.
Darlene, that was T. Graham Brown.
Huh. Learn something new every day.
I just feel like right now, I think second's too far back because I think Joey Logano's got this race in hand. But if someone gets around Joey, gets beside Joey, that opens it up all the way back to the top 10 of guys that if they get 2-3 wide up front can make some kind of amazing. I remember when David Regan won here back in 13 or 14. I was a part of that push to the front.
Mm-hmm.
I was probably running 10th when I came off the second turn, and I got the right run, and I got behind David, and I wound up finishing third that day. So you can make some huge moves.
And I like this question, too, from Dennis. Dennis asked, does anybody dare pit from here?
No.
No.
Go, Regan.
Down here where the drivers are just coming out of the care center. This is where the drivers are taken after an accident happens. The first of which has come out is Justin Haley. We're going to step in. Justin, we are live on NASCAR on Fox's Hot Pass Hangout. We'll hold out for just a second here as he has another interview going on currently. Always fun. The scrum down here, it's a difficult thing. The drivers come out of the scrum and basically they talk to all the media, TV, a little bit of everything. We see my colleague Vince Welch over my shoulder right now. Chris Buescher coming out of the care center right here as we see him stepping up to do TV first. We'll get in here and get a word with Justin Haley real quick. Justin, a rough finish to the day for you. I know that was your first race in the NASCAR Cup Series. How was it up until that wreck?
Well, it was fun. Obviously, this package is super fun, and you can be racy. We were a lap down right there, and I was just kind of riding. Had about 10 car lengths in front of me, and these speedway cars don't have the best brakes, you know that. So, unfortunately, I couldn't dodge it, especially with a low-budget team like that. So, I feel bad that I wrecked your car.
You're doing a nice job today. Enjoy it. You only get one first start. It looked like it was a blast out there. We'll step down here and Matt DiBenedetto, Matt D, as they call him, also walking out of the care center right now. He's also going to do an MRN interview. We can hear that over our shoulder in the grandstands at the moment. A lot of disappointment for him. This is a guy that many expected, as Michael has told us earlier in the day, to have a shot for a good top 5 finish, maybe even a win. Maybe that guy that could have been our big surprise story. And it's always a challenge. You come out and you're frustrated, and all the media is right here to meet you. And these guys have to put on a nice face and smile, and they're not thinking smile at that particular moment. I've made this walk many times. I made this walk at this particular racetrack many times, and it is a challenge to do that. We'll step in and see if we can get a word with Matt real quick. Matt, real quick here, we're on the Hot Pass Hangout Live. A good day for you, much like Daytona. We see the dirt. Look at the dirt and debris on your shoulders. This tells you what these drivers go through in these wrecks. They get covered in dirt and debris as they go through the grass. A disappointing end to what looked like it was going to be another great super speedway race for you.
Yeah, gosh, we can't catch a break on these things, man. That's just how these deals go. But I'll tell you what, I'm about tired of speedway racing at this point. Not because there's anything wrong with it, just so frustrating being bounced around like a pinball at 2 in a row now when having a good run.
Glad to see you're okay. That was a hard hit. Most important part is that, obviously. We want these drivers to all be safe. Chris Buescher, of course, taking the largest impact in that wreck. We'll go ahead and get a word with him in just 1 second as he finishes up with radio as well. He's already talked to our friends on Fox Sports. You guys have likely heard him once already, but still something that he doesn't want to have to do, as we mentioned earlier. And it's obviously a frustrating moment for him. He's putting on a good face, though. We saw his car come back through, and I'll tell you what, guys, we're actually going to go ahead and get ready to send that back to you guys over at the Hot Pass Hangout, because I believe we're getting ready to go green flag in just a second. So back to you guys.
Thank you, Regan. Yeah, 5 to go. We're back underway racing here at Talladega. Mikey, what do you think? What are your predictions here on what we're going to see in these closing laps?
Well, what people say is the best racer in NASCAR, Kyle Busch, was lined up versus this past season's champion and best plate racer, Joey Logano, and wow. Give a big advantage to that inside lane. I don't know what happened to Kyle Busch there. He looked like he launched well. Maybe he's got low fuel. Maybe there's problems with fuel in that car, because he has certainly fallen way back. You could see the yellow car there of William Byron making a big surge. Ricky Stenhouse moves up to block. There's so much blocking and so much pushing and shoving. This thing is far from over. Kurt Busch up to the back of Joey Logano, one of the most aggressive racers in all of NASCAR is Kurt Busch.
Chase Elliott there.
But what happened was Logano went up to block Kurt. It opened the door for Chase, and Chase to the front.
You heard the crowd's reaction to that.
The crowd was very loud. I was walking back here, and I knew exactly who had taken the lead as I was walking back 4 wide back further in the pack there.
Look at Joey, though. He's got some help from that guy that was trying to pass him, maybe cost him the lead, Kurt Busch. Kurt slips down, gives a little side draft on Daniel Hemrick. What about Daniel Hemrick in the
I did not see that coming at the end of this race, I'll be honest with you. Let's take our picks real quick, guys. Let's take our picks as to who we think, now that we're down to 2 to go. I know we've got our fathead picks still, but based on what we see right now, who's everybody taking?
Eric Jones. Eric Jones. Does that bring out the caution? He's just sliding through the infield. I think he's going to keep going. I think NASCAR will hope to keep this thing green.
Yeah.
We've got a barn burner going on. They don't want to throw the caution.
I'm going to take Chase Elliott. I'm going to go ahead and say I don't think they get back by him.
Same.
He got up front. He's got a teammate there helping him out and another Chevy behind the teammate.
This would be big for Henry Motorsports.
But
we talked about that earlier.
What about a guy we haven't even mentioned today, Daniel Hemrick? Saw him before the race. I said, what do you think, buddy? He said, Mike, you know better. I don't know what to think. I'm just going to give it. I said, this racing is as unpredictable as my golf game, and he agreed wholeheartedly.
And he's a guy that'll be content with a top 5 after the way his year's gone. High hopes for him coming into the season. A lot of speed early on, and just has not got the results that he's wanted out of this.
What about those Chevys? What about the Chevys?
They're lined up. I mean, we've got Chevys all on the bottom row. They're going to have a very difficult time getting a run. Somebody's going to have to lock up and try to do the tandem, I think, to get a big enough run to get past them.
Don't you think this is interesting, Regan, that the Chevys that
and if they get the white flag right here, this is it. If there's a wreck, there's the wreck, and they took the white flag.
Does Chase Elliott win at Talladega? A place
we'll
that his
dad. We'll have to see how long they let him race for. Sometimes they let him go ways down the back straightaway. Joey Logano hoping they let him go for a while right here.
Yeah, Joey's stuck.
And now we got another wreck, and this one's going to bring out.
That'll do
As
it.
we got one on the roof on the backstretch
Yeah, that
back there.
That was Kyle Larson who had a crazy crash, and you could see everybody's backing it down. Caution's out. Your winner is going to be Chase Elliott. We knew it would be crazy at the end.
That was crazy.
Jeffrey Earnhardt on the left side of the screen there. A big impact for both of those guys. We'll wait to see those window nets come down, but Chase Elliott at Talladega,
You
this
said
close to
it's gonna
Dawsonville.
be a party
Wow.
here tonight.
The Boulevard is not going to shut down tonight like it typically does.
And you're also going to be able to hear the siren
Oh, yes.
From the
ringing
pool hall.
from here.
Listen to the crowd. We
Listen
can
to
hear
the
them
crowd.
through
We
our
can hear them
headsets
right now,
This
yeah.
is amazing how loud this place is.
With the elation of all the crew. It's been a bit of a rough go for HMS. This is a big momentum builder, big time.
Nobody saw this coming, Caitlin, because we talked about
Kyle
the bumpers.
Larson out of his car, a good thing that
that's
we're seeing
good,
on
yeah.
the broadcast right now.
Yeah, his car went up in the air before he hit that wall.
It did. It looked like it hit the wall in the air almost. It was tough, a little bit tough to tell. We haven't seen the replay just quite yet, but how about that? Chase Elliott and all that talk about Hendrick Motorsports. We can put that out the door now. They've got to win.
They've
Chevy
gotta
has
win.
a win.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
He's in the
and
playoffs,
Chevy
guys.
puts a plan together today, and it works out for him as there's the tumble that Larson took.
Oh, what a shame for him.
Once,
This has been a rough
twice.
season for him.
Most people would freak out by that, but he's been on his top more than anybody in the field.
4, 5. Wow, that's one of the.
That's
His teammate Jamie
Scary
McMurray, our broadcast analyst, or
Unbelievable.
our teammate right now, went through a similar ride like that.
Wow.
Chip Ganassi Racing has lost a couple race cars down here the past couple trips. David Reagan, damage to the front of that car. Didn't see him involved in that wreck, but it appears everybody that was involved with it is okay, and that's the
most important.
That's the most important part.
The caution comes out while Chase is leading, and then Alex Bowman kind of keeps in the gas, which you're not supposed to do, which was kind of dumb because people upstairs get kind of confused, but it was Chase Elliott that won the race.
Yeah, and I think in Bowman's defense, what I would say is a lot of times your spotters telling you just keep rolling because you got guys that are behind you that might not check up quite as quick as you do, and you just try to play it safe right there, knowing that you're going to let the other car back in front of you.
Make sure you guys stay with us because we will be going to Victory Lane to interview the winner, who we now know is Chase Elliott. So we'll be bringing you guys access to Victory Lane and what that celebration is going to be like for young Chase Elliott.
I have to imagine this will be a very popular win in Talladega, and quite honestly, in the whole NASCAR world, Chase Elliott, somebody a lot of fans like to cheer for.
Well, this track is why Bill Elliott's so famous. I
He's the fastest man ever.
He came here and took this place, and made it his own, and was able to win races here and set the world's fastest lap in a stock car, 212 miles an hour. This is Bill Elliott's. This is a house that Bill built, and now Chase is able to celebrate in it.
Devin Williams on Facebook just said the biggest winners are watching in person at the racetrack right now. I can't disagree with you, Devin. Obviously very cool to be here and in person to see a win like this. But if you can't, we are very thankful that you joined us today on the Hot Pass Hangout, as well as NASCAR on Fox.
And you gotta tell your friends about the access. I mean that we're able to
bring this
afford
to you guys, yeah.
I mean CJ's over there working so hard, Regan on pit road, me out in the infield. We're showing you what a NASCAR experience is all about, and we're so thankful that you joined us and can see that Fox Sports cares about the NASCAR fans, and we're going to do everything we can to bring them every angle of every moment of action on the racetrack.
And I'm thankful we got to show that stuff off. A lot of times it's tough. We go through a broadcast and we have a lot of a lot of moving parts going on with the race and that we have to get in. And it's nice to be able to kind of take a step back and give a different viewpoint. This is the stuff that all of us that have worked in the sport, we get to see it. And sometimes we take it for granted how cool it actually is and how many neat things there are that happen around this racetrack. So to be able to let you guys come down here and see the things that we see, very cool. I know Chase Elliott finishing up, and you're probably going to have to get heading to Victory Lane very soon, Caitlin.
Thank you so much to both of you for joining today on the Hot Pass
What
Hangout.
an amazing
It's been
day.
a blast. I love working with you too, of course.
I'm jealous of the walk to Victory Lane you get to make right
We're gonna
now,
do that
and you
right
get to go find Chase Elliott and get to talk to the winner when he gets there.
Thank you guys. Safe travels.
And Leslie talking about Corey LaJoie with a P11 finish. here
well,
today.
She better
That is a
talk about
big one.
Brendan Gaughan with a P10.
Yeah.
How about
Brendan
that?
wasn't even in town yesterday, and I was able to, CJ, hang out with the team owner there, Mark Beard from Beard Oil, and he was just saying how much he's been a racer his whole life, and to be able to field a team and have Brendan finish up in the top 10, that's pretty cool.
Butch talking about the siren going off in Dawsonville, Georgia right now. So I can't hear it quite this far, but we know they're celebrating for Chase Elliott going to victory lane here at Talladega. You guys keep sending in the comments. I'm going to throw them up on screen, having a lot of fun. So our crew continuing to work hard here today at Talladega. I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. Don't forget that we're going to be going through, picking out some winners for the shares. I've got a stack of hats that I'm going to be sending out. So hit the share button. We're going to send you guys some stuff. That's going to be fun. Coca-Cola hooking us up with that. So, guys, final thoughts. What are you thinking?
Well, I got everything out of the race today that I wanted, Michael. We had the excitement. We had some wrecks. We had a little bit of everything. We saw the passing color, saw cars going from the front to the back, green flag pit stops, you name it. One of the most popular drivers in the series winning, Alex Bowman in second place. Ryan Preece, a guy that needed a good run in third place. My takeaway from this is 2 thumbs up to NASCAR. There was a lot of hard work that went into putting these rules in place at this racetrack. A lot of question marks coming into this race. What we got out of it was a race that was very good and that was exactly the speed, the pace, everything that we wanted, the cars being able to pass the way that we wanted. I don't see anything that I can complain about today.
Well, and as usual, NASCAR got it right. You know, there was so much concern about the speed and the way the cars would handle. This looked like a typical Talladega race to me. You saw some crashes, you saw some domination at stages, and then you saw at the end a winner and Chevrolet's taking the first 4 spots. I mean, who saw that coming? Because of the fact that we've talked about those pointy front bumpers, and when it came to push and shove, how could they execute with those pointy front bumpers? But obviously, they got the job done. Big crashes, you're going to have that at Talladega. That only goes back to about 1960, when I think they had the biggest crash ever in NASCAR here. So don't think that today wasn't a fun race. It was really, really cool. As far as we know at this moment, nobody got hurt. There was a lot of entertained race fans, and golly, I'm just so thankful for all the access that we were able to give the fans here on Caffeine, on Facebook, through our Fox Sports app.
And kudos to Chevy for getting their teams together, getting their teams to work together, going out there and saying, hey, we learned from what happened to us at Daytona. We're going to do a much better job at Talladega of, as a group, working together. And they're rewarded because of that. And I've been critical of Chevy this year in the fact that they got to get their race cars faster and they've got to do things a little bit differently. They are taking that criticism and they're working with it. That was very evident today. To your point, I'm surprised we did not see a tandem towards the end of this race or the bump draft play a bigger role, but these drivers learned what they had to do when they were out there. They figured it all out. And this has been fun today. We got to do a lot of cool stuff. We got to talk to a lot of fun people, talk to some drivers, talk to some crew members, and take you behind the scenes. I know the last thing we've got coming up here very, very soon is going to be Caitlin. As you'll notice, she's left us. Taking
Jody
it
had a good
away
question.
in victory lane. And
Let's hear it. I like the question from Jody. She says, do you think they make changes to the package as far as the aero package? And
Absolutely
that sort of
not.
stuff before
And
the
quit
next
saying
time?
package. Tell your fans, tell everybody, lose the word package. We're racing
We'll
cars.
stick with rules
We're
here.
not racing packages. We're racing 2019 cars. We saw a very entertaining race. And besides that, CJ, we're at Talladega. How fitting is it? Chase Elliott is all hopped up on Mountain Dew, and he's going to victory lane.
These rules are here to stay. We're not going to see NASCAR change these rules. Not this year anyways. We got at least 2 more races like this. And Chase Elliott's hopped up on one thing. I am hopped up on another, and it's going to be my Coke Orange Vanilla. I just got to throw that out there. Cheers, buddy.
Shannon saying, awesome
What a
chase
fun
from the
day.
same place, making a Dawsonville, Georgia reference. I like it. Fans are excited.
they should be.
That sound when they came across the line.
I got to tell you guys,
can tell people love Chase
I'm
Elliott.
fortunate that I'm going to do 3 straight days of Race Hub this week at 6
Nice,
p.m. on
nice.
FS1 for those who haven't seen it. As race cars are being delivered behind us, this is the car of Jeffrey Earnhardt. They're cutting on it. You can hear the saws in the background. This team's got to get this car loaded up to go home. But 3 straight days of Race Hub. co-hosting, and looking very much forward to all the Chase Elliott talk that's going to be coming along. And I think we're getting close to going ahead and joining in with Caitlin in Victory Lane.
Here as well. As we wait for Chase Elliott. You guys, this is awesome access. We've got the car, the man of the hour arriving. As you can see, this is an incredible look of our race winner here at Talladega, Chase Elliott, rolling into victory lane, guys. Wow. And I anticipate this is going to be a big party. You see all of his road crew, his crew chief, Alan Gustafson, there to greet him, along with his mom. As everyone gets situated to bring Chase out of the race car. You see lots of people here from Hendrick Motorsports, obviously, as well, to celebrate this big win. Really an incredible moment for the entire organization. As you see the driver waiting for the cue to come out of the race car. And here he comes, the winner at Talladega, his first win so far this year, Chase Elliott. As he soaks in that moment with his team, raising the checkered flag, confetti, Gatorade flying. Just an incredible day for him and for this team. Now he's going to go ahead and obviously do another interview with Fox, as we traditionally do on the broadcast, a two-way interview. You see Jimmy Johnson has made his way to congratulate his teammate, Chase Elliott. Jeff Andrews, one of the key personnel at Hendrick Motorsports, in front of me as well. Getting a hug from his wife. But this is the place that everyone wants to be at the end of the race. Victory Lane at Talladega is so special. You can see all the camera crews. Everyone gets lined up across from the team to take the traditional photos, the sponsor photos for Chase Elliott. As you can see, all the road crew mechanics looking on. That's a whole bunch of them right there. Alan Gustafson, the crew chief, since Chase has been in the Cup Series. His car chief behind him, Josh Kirk. These guys have been with Chase since he started his career in the Cup Series. Greg Ives, crew chief, also congratulating Chase Elliott. As you can see, the Geico 500 trophy moving past us, going into place. People commenting the trophy, how heavy it is, but you see the trophy being placed in the front now. As you guys are seeing in front of us, trophy presentation about to take place for Chase Elliott. He has a number of, obviously, media obligations that take place for the race winner here. Chase Elliott now getting a chance to congratulate his teammates on the victory. He's going to get set to add that win sticker there to the car. And now taking place is the big trophy presentation as representatives from Talladega Superspeedway talk with Chase Elliott for the big Geico 500 winner. And Chase Elliott now posing with the trophy. As they begin now their sponsor photos. Alex Bowman is Hendrick Motorsports' teammate, just coming into victory lane to congratulate him as well. Chad Canals, also crew chief, coming to congratulate Chase Elliott. All of his teammates have made their way over to congratulate him on this victory. You guys are getting behind-the-scenes access to Victory Lane right now from Talladega as Chase begins his celebrations with his team. First win of 2019 for them. So you can see getting hugs from his teammates.